Yeah, that's your
Yeah.
name.
Squirrels got me.
Big Jim.
Yeah.
Really, 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 really cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
That's good that you think that of it, because that's what deer hunting typically is cold and fun.
Yesterday morning, I'm glassing up on the pass, and I see these deer moving, and I'm like, ooh, there's deer moving. All of a sudden, I just see this person just head down, just hauling ass, wearing shorts and a t-shirt with a pack on. And I'm like, is that Tard? My dad always talks about floating through the woods like the autumn breeze.
So Robert's
when you're
the ghost, and
275
what's
pounds, I don't know how you do that, but
the Freightliner. It's just like a creeper. You're just kind of up in the corner watching what's going on down there.
yeah.
You know,
He's like,
he's up there slapping, pissing all over everything.
is it warm yet?
How did you know the name of the actor?
That's I know.
Why did you say his name?
Hervé Villagers. Remember this?
You know what pert near means.
If you know what pert near means and you live in America, you're a redneck too.
Welcome to the Log Talk Podcast, brought to you by Pert Near Outdoors. What is up, everyone? Is that loud? I think that's pretty loud. That should be better. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this week's episode of the Pert Near Outdoors Podcast. Billy here, and I just came out of the woods on my last rifle hunt of the year. So it's kind of hard to believe that gun season is here and gone. It feels like a great gun season for me and for many, and looking forward to getting the old smoke pole out here for the next week and then another week with the holiday hunt. Still got some good bucks around, still seeing some good activity. Actually saw some chasing tonight. Saw a small buck chasing some does around a food plot on my way out, and saw a buck on stand. Small buck that we have been seeing on camera the last couple days, and then actually heard a fight. So I don't know who he was fighting with. I'm assuming it was that buck that I saw, and then he was scrapping with somebody else. So might be coming into a little bit of second rut here, maybe a couple does that are coming into heat that didn't get bred the first time. It seems like this is about the timing of when we saw a lot of the breeding activity in November, so about a month later makes about sense. And I think this week coming up should be good. We got some colder weather and some snow in the forecast, so hopefully that sticks around here for the next few weeks and closes out the month of December with some good conditions of deer season here. Let's see. We got some swag left, so if you haven't gotten your swag, it's a great idea, great Christmas present. I know there's no wives listening to this, but maybe give your wife a hint that you like a Pert Near hoodie or Pert Near t-shirt or hat. Pretty excited about how much we've sold the hoodies. I've got very few left. I've got a couple 3X. I got a 4X, a medium, and 2 smalls. So pretty picked through on the hoodie end of things, and the hats, and in that there's a little bit left of each one of those varieties. So get them while they're here before they're gone. And if you're doing any holiday shopping, and again, another store, I've talked about the Huntworks on here many times before, but those guys would be a great place to ask a friend or family or a loved one that's looking to buy a present for you. If you are passionate about the outdoors, it's a great place to get a gift card to. And I think if you mention the Pert Near Outdoors podcast, they're going to give you a little extra money towards that gift card. Just tell Dan that Billy sent you over at Pert Near Outdoors, and I believe they're going to give you a little spiff on top of that, additional money on that gift card. So a little tip there for you. This podcast is going to be our roundtable after the PA hunt was over. We were down in camp. Those of us who had filled our tags packed it in early on Saturday afternoon and headed back to camp and had a few beers and took a shower and cleaned up while the guys went out and did one last hunt in the afternoon. And so we decided to sit down and get the podcast machine running and start breaking down the hunt. So you'll kind of get to hear from a bunch of the different characters. You'll hear all the stories of each one of the kills, and some good commentary in there. And I would say my favorite part of this podcast, and maybe one of my favorite parts of the hunt, was having our first youngster in camp. Sam came along with his dad, Kurt, and they were awesome to have in camp. And Sam, it was really cool to hear his perspective on things. And, we all just kind of get wrapped up in what we're doing, but you don't maybe think about what it's like for other people who are there on their first trip or have never done anything like this, or maybe you're just, maybe you're 13 years old and on your first out-of-state hunting trip like Sam was, and it was really cool. So I hope you enjoy this podcast. It's definitely a good one. There's a lot of great laughs, good perspectives, not your standard round table at deer camp that you guys have come to know from us, where it's a lot of inappropriate talk and foul language. This is a pretty clean one, a lot of good content, good humor, and a good one to listen to. So hope you enjoy this podcast, and hope you get out there tomorrow. I'm going to post this Monday, and so I hope you get out there during muzzleloader and smack the big one. I'm not sure what I'll have for podcast over the last 2 weeks here, but I'm sure I'll get some stuff up. We'll probably recap some things. Trigger shot a buck tonight, so maybe we'll get him on here to hear his story. He's grinded it out pretty hard, and I believe that was the first, maybe the second buck he's seen all of gun season. So he's shot a nice, looks like it's either an 8 or a 10, beautiful symmetrical buck. So very happy for him. Look forward to hearing the story there. So that's all I got, folks. Enjoy the podcast. Have a great week, and keep feeding them. Listen, this is not the Antler Up podcast. You can't talk like that.
You're right. You're right.
I got a reputation.
You have a reputation.
My mic up.
Why? You don't want your mic down? Okay. PA Deer Camp 2022 is in the books officially. The sun has gone down. We're sitting at camp around the fire. TV's on because Greg's a millennial and he has to always have some sort of television show on. Here we are. We got brother AJ to my left, PA Jim to my right, and Howie is over sitting by the fire, nice and toasty. Just had some shots of the old Satin Manhattan Harvey version. We put 5 big bucks on the ground in 3 days. What do you think, fellas?
Pretty incredible.
Pretty incredible. I think that sums it up pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're.
Yeah, there you go.
I think you're downplaying it
Am I downplaying it?
because they're big bucks.
They are big
5
bucks.
big bucks.
Yeah.
Except Bills.
Except that 6-pointer. He's pretty big.
Should have let him walk till next year.
It's not often. We talked about it. It's not often that deer is the smallest deer of the whole group. We've shot a lot of yearling, 8-pointers, small 8-pointers or 6-pointers on this hunt. And I don't even think we saw very many small bucks on this hunt. Most of the bucks that we're seeing were no doubter shooter bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean,
yep.
Well, I doubted mine, but
there was no need to doubt that.
So what causes that? Are we in better areas, bigger bucks, or
Well, it's the same areas we've been hunting.
Right. So we just missed so many in previous years that they're getting bigger, and
So we've
forced
gone
all the other hunters out.
still got to be the point restriction.
Yeah, but we went 2 years. So let's say it was 2018, 2019. We killed 6 bucks and 6 bucks. So we killed 12 bucks out of the same area that we've been hunting. We killed 12 bucks in 2 straight years. Just us. That's not thinking about any of the other people in here. And then the last 2 years we've kind of struggled. We haven't shot much. In 2020, Brian shot the big 12-pointer, and last year I shot my 8-pointer, and Brad shot his buck, but that was in a totally different area.
Right.
So now we basically went a couple of years without really shooting a whole lot in that area that we really put the hurting on him. But I guess we shot 3 bucks in a totally different area yesterday. But
Good point. Yeah.
So that doesn't really go into
That's the
this
first
factor,
bucks
but
we've gotten out of that other area.
We shot Brad shot his buck.
Oh, Brad.
And
Right,
and Crispy shot his buck over there.
Oh yeah.
So
Forgot about Crispy.
it was I don't know. So we came down Thursday morning, and the weather was awful. Thursday morning, we got a bunch of snow at home in Western New York on Wednesday night going into Thursday. The drive down was terrible Thursday morning, and we got here, and it was 20 degrees. The wind chill was brutal. It was freaking howling, and we got right off the start. And that first drive, there was you had seen, Jim. You saw.
I shot and missed.
You shot and missed a good buck.
A really good buck, yeah.
Now that you've seen and you shot one, what caliber of deer was that?
It looked a lot like AJ's. I can remember specifically seeing the tall G2s.
Maybe it was AJ's buck.
I guess there's a possibility. But
We've seen them before jump over.
Yeah.
Into the.
That's not that far.
Yep.
I think the one that I shot at had a little lighter rack than his, a little lighter color.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really good buck. I would have been proud to put my tag on that one for sure.
Yeah. That was Thursday morning. So that was exciting to at least hear a gunshot. And you came right over the radio and you were like, "Big buck in the hollow, boys." You were fired up.
I was fired up. I was trying to just get everybody fired up and to pay attention to see where he was going to end up. And I don't know how he skirted us, but he did.
Yeah. And then on my side, I ended up getting tangled in to right in the middle of a whole bunch of locals that had come up from the private land in the bottom.
Yep.
And they came up and they had doe tags, and we had some does moving, and they were hammering. And I ended up coming up across a young guy. He was 17 years old. Oh shit! What was his name? I gotta remember his name because I gotta send him pictures actually.
While you're looking for
You
the
got his
pictures,
number?
I will say, when you come over the radio, Jim, and say, big buck, today he said, "Hey, buck running, pay attention." Very stern. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
You were.
I
I
really
think
have
it was
to.
more because I was like really like working hard to push that drive for everybody. So I was like, this better be worth it. And we'll get to that. But
Buck coming, but pay attention.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
10 hut. Jeez.
Yeah.
So his name was Aaron.
Okay.
Aaron was the young man's name.
Nice,
17-year-old. So he shoots twice. I had bumped two does out in front of me. He shoots twice. But he's over the ridge. I can't see him, but the shots were pretty close. So I kind of worked my way a little bit that way to see if I can see him and see what the hell was going on. And his family was down there's like a little, like, I don't know, we kind of call it like a hog's back. So it's a deep valley, but in the valley there's like an individual ridge that runs through there that the creek kind of splits that ridge. It's kind of a cool piece of topography down there. And his family was up on that ridge, and they were hammering away at that group of does that we had bumped down. I think Dallas and Brian and PMH were coming down the other side, and I think they may have pushed some deer up onto there too. So they were having a field day. And this young guy, Aaron, he had shot twice and missed. And so I'm sitting there looking at him. I go over and actually talk to him. And then I go back because his family's still shooting over there. So I don't know what they're shooting at. There could be a buck in there. So I'm like, I'm going to go over here and get some distance uphill. And I'm watching below me in the beach, all the beach whips. And here comes this deer kind of like slinking through. And so I'm waving to him. We're doing hand signals, and I'm like, "Come down here," And this deer is like totally. It ended up being it was a doe fawn, by itself. So like a lot of times they just act like they don't know what to do, especially if it's the first time they've been separated from their mother. So I'm thinking that this deer is just like split from its mother, and it's just acting real odd, Well, it ended up being the deer was hit. So they had hit the deer up on that ridge, and the deer had come down across, and they got onto that area of thicket. And so I wave him down. He comes over to me, and I'm like, the deer is right there. And he looks down, he can see it. So he's like, "Can I shoot it?" I'm like, "Yeah." I go, "It's wounded." I go, "You have doe tag, right?" He's like, "Yeah." So he ends up, I'm up against a tree with my scope. He shoots, drops the deer, and he like freaks out. He's like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And I'm like, I look at him, and he's like, "That's my first deer. That's my first deer."
First deer ever?
Yeah. And
Oh,
I'm like, "Oh my God." And so he's like, "Can I hug you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So here I am, like hugging some random dude, on the side of the mountain. And he was tickled pink. As his first deer, he shot at a bunch of deer, but he's never connected. And for him to drop it right there. So we celebrated that. We went down the hill, took some pictures of him with it, and his dad had come down and come up to us, so it was cool to get to meet him. And our Aaron had met up with me at that point, so we hung out there with them for a few minutes, and then we split off, and that was basically kind of the end of the drive.
Did you take pictures of the dad and son on the deer and stuff for him?
No.
Oh, Billy.
Come on, Bill.
Billy.
No, I may have. I have to go back. I took so many pictures over the last 3 days, I can't even.
That's pretty
remember.
special though that you were able.
Yeah,
to
there's been a lot of
share
gutting
it
and
first.
gilling, a lot of grip and grins.
There has been.
Yeah. So that was like the end of the first drive, and it was a pretty successful drive. We had a lot of deer moving. Everybody was where they were supposed to be, which is a huge win on the first day, first hunt. And then that afternoon, we had set up a second drive, and this is the drive that I ended up shooting a buck on. So we spread out around this whole valley basin area, and I end up getting out on my ridge. AJ and I were walking out. We were both sitters with two of the last two sitters, and Crispy was going to be the last walker, so he went out past us on this ridge, and he was going to drop down in the creek bottom and come around. And so AJ and I are walking out this ridge, and it's an old clear cut, and we're walking out, and I said, why don't we split up here because this is kind of thick. Why don't you go on this side? I'll go on right down the middle. And I'm almost to my spot, and I heard some stuff moving, and I get right up to the actual point where I'm supposed to be, and it's where it's actually a point of a ridge, and the ridge wraps around, but it bows out quite a bit at the bottom, so it makes the ridge like real long and wide. And AJ's to my right, and all these deer, I just hear, it was really cold that day, and everything was frozen. So I pop my head over the ridge, and I just hear deer just. So I look over, and it's just all does is all I saw. But there was 6, 8 plus does. There was a lot of deer in that group, and I don't know if AJ, if you bumped them, or if they heard me, or if maybe that buck was chasing them. I have no idea.
Well, I told you down in the bottom, I couldn't see what they were, but right after. I think it was right after you shot, there was 3 or 4 more doe that came back through.
Yeah.
I don't think I bumped them. I think there was somebody else. Either Aaron bumped them, and they were slowly making their way from the bottom up towards us.
Yeah.
But, there was.
Because everybody was kind of dropping into their spots. So, I mean, a million different things could happen. Who knows? But so I'm on this point, and this point's only like maybe 10 yards wide at the end. So I get to the point, and I'm looking over to the right, and I see those deer running, and I just made a decision. I'm like, I'm going to go to the left side of this ridge and just peek over and see if maybe these deer wrap around the ridge. And sure as shit, I walk over, and I mean, I pop my head over, and I'm looking, and immediately I hear deer, and then I see a body of a deer standing broadside, and I just see the beam on the left. All I see is the beam and the G2, and based on the size of it, it was like a no-doubter to me. I was going to shoot. And hindsight, didn't know if it had brow tines or not, and he does have, thank Lord Jesus, he's got basically an inch-long brow tine. But that deer stopped there, and I don't know how far he was. I don't know exactly where he was standing. I don't even know where I was standing. But I shot, and he took off. I racked around, and the does he was with, they took off kind of trotting through the woods, but they stayed in the beach. And so I moved up ahead on the ridge, and I'm watching the does, and I never saw the buck come out. So long story short, Pete was hunting down the ridge, and Pete
Chris.
Sorry, Chris. Crispy, I'm watching this person riding on a bike and peeing.
Yeah.
Did you see that? We turn this off.
Yeah.
So that made you think of Pete?
Yeah. Yeah, you figure that one out. So Crispy's working his way down below me, so I just stayed put because I don't know what happened. I mean, I could have hit him. I may not have hit him. I have no idea. So I just stayed put, and he comes. Crispy's working below me probably 45 minutes to an hour later, and he had seen 15 deer before he got down to me. There was a pile of deer in there, and he's seen I think there was a hot doe, I think is what it was, because there ended up being another 4-pointer, the 4-pointer you saw, AJ, which was not a terrible buck. Like, he was probably 15, 16 inches wide.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised he
Short
didn't
tines,
have any
brow tines.
Yeah, he didn't have any brow tines.
No, he had nothing. It was smooth.
So, yeah.
But, like, I watched him come through, head to the ground, freaking lip curling. Like, he was all into it. And he was right on the same track that buck was on. So I'm guessing that those does had come through there, and one of them must have been hot or close or something.
You couldn't smell it?
No, I couldn't smell it. No. Isn't that surprising? The wind was blowing downhill. So Chris ends up coming across the radio a few minutes later, and he's like, I got a dead deer down here. And I'm like, is it look big? He's like, I don't know. All I see is a tail and a belly. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. So I just go, it was like, he was straight below me. So I'm like, I just go straight downhill, and I come down, and I got to the deer first. But the way that I hammered him right behind the shoulder, right where I was aiming, which I'm shocked about because of how thick it was. I was anticipating the bullet was going to get deflected or something, but it went right through behind his shoulder, right out the other side, and he was bleeding like crazy. And when he died, he like flipped over and like landed up against a tree, and his head was down. So his antlers were back, and like his head was come upside down. So until I got up to him and actually lifted his head up, I have no idea what he was. And so that was pretty exciting, and that was fun to break the ice with the group, because up until that point, we hadn't shot anything yet. And I was joking because I've been fortunate the last few years to shoot a buck on the first drive. So I was like kind of you know,
tried calling your shot.
I tried calling my shot. I said something like in the text message on like Wednesday. I'm like, well, by this time tomorrow, I'll be sipping whiskey and celebrating a buck. And I'm like, you know, it may not happen. The only bucks I've ever shot down here have been on the first day, first drive. So this one that I shot here was the first.
So you were sweating it more than ever.
I wasn't really sweating it at that point. I was like, oh, you might not. You get one opportunity down here, usually, and it's like Jim had today. Like Jim shot that beautiful buck yesterday, and then today you have a great buck run by you. Like it just doesn't typically happen. It ran to you. Oh no! Really?
How big was he? Oh boy,
big 10-point.
Yeah.
And Billy talked me out of taking that drive today.
I did not. You did not want anything to do with the drive that you were
assigned. There was no fucking deer over there. Why would I go walking over there?
And
There's no deer.
How many deer did you see today?
It was next to nothing.
Saw AJ's dead deer.
Yeah. That's it. I was up above after AJ shot, and I was like, I got to see at least a deer.
Yeah.
I'm going down.
I got to go over there. So that was day one. We saw a lot of deer, so we felt pretty good about the day. We only had one buck down, which with having 17 hunters was not what we were.
Oh, don't forget your dad, too.
Dad.
That drive,
yeah. So I shot my buck, and they were working. They finished that drive all the way out, and it was right towards the end of that. Like, they were like 300-400.
I was
why
the
don't
last
you tell that story?
I was the last driver, and I seen Peter and Greg following each other up out over the crest of the ridge. So I got on the radio to Greg, and I was like, hey, you're following Pete out? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, I guess the drive. I was assuming the drive was over, so I was like, all right, I'm going to follow you guys out too. And I said it over the radio. Thank God Dallas was paying attention, being Mr. Map that he is. And he's like, hey, you're going to finish, you're going to hunt your way out to Big Willie, right? And I was like, played it off like, oh, yeah, definitely. Where I was zoomed in too far on my Garmin, and I didn't see your dad's icon.
Oh, you didn't see that he was up there?
Yeah, and then I zoomed out, and I'm like, oh, shit. I'm only a couple hundred yards from him. Okay.
And you didn't have your north up, so he was just spinning all around all over the place.
I know. We'll do better.
You got to go north up. Anybody out there, north up is the way
on the
to go.
Garmin's, yeah.
And it keeps your direction good.
I know.
It's important.
I know.
Can we get a quick plug for Garmin, though? Those radios?
Garmin Rhinos.
Garmin Rhinos.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great tools for out in the woods.
It is
great killing tools.
It's a rule that if you come on this hunt, you have to have a Rhino so that everyone knows where you are, and you know where you are.
Yep.
They're unbelievable.
If you're going to go out with a Garmin, you got to have a sharp knife because you're going to be killing.
Which I think you said, and a couple other guys said that the hunt is now officially full. So
it's full.
It'll be a waiting list.
Yeah, there's a waiting list. You can get on. We will start a waiting list. It's $7,000 a year to be on the waiting list. That'll help pay for all my new camouflage.
That's the beginning of William Robert Harvey's
business.
Outfitting service right there. That's it.
You Whack iPack. That's the name of my
7,000, 3 days, easy.
You Whack iPack. I can make a UWIP. UWIP.
There you go.
Services.
That's pretty good.
Outfitting.
So anyway, back to the hunt.
You Whip. Services.
I like it. Now listen, back to the
hunt.
hunt.
You Whip. You Whip. That's good.
Write it down before you forget it.
Billy. You Whip.
All right. Make it happen.
You Whip Outfitters. Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah.
When I retire in 72 years,
I'm
that's
calling
what I'll
Sarah.
Start.
Get the logos
No,
made.
don't.
Tell her you'll be home 2 weekends a year.
Don't call.
You Whack iPack.
Billy's got to be home by like 4:30 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I gotta. I'm just gonna pack and just go straight home from here.
You're packing, all right.
Because she's had enough, she says. Lord have mercy.
So anyway, So after I got back into the drive, I went all the way to the creek bottom, crossed the creek again, went up to the elevation point that I was at previously, and started my way working towards Big Willie. And it was only like maybe 15 minutes after that, I hear this unbelievable crashing and thrashing, like the loudest, heaviest movements I've ever heard from a deer. I thought it was a bear, to be honest with you, when he jumped it. Greg was on the other side, and I think he's the one that jumped it. And I was like, holy cow, look at that thing. And all I could see is chest and legs at first, and I get my gun up, and he's probably 150 yards or so from me, 175 yards. And it's through like the thickest terrain possible. So it wasn't even worth wasting a bullet. But I could, in the scope though, I finally could see the side of his frame. And I could see 4 points on the main beam. I'm good. Thank you.
I got vodka and.
Yeah, please.
Anyway,
AJ.
I could see 4 points on the main beam alone. Okay. Naked
So you
eye.
think he
I
would,
mean, not naked eye, through my scope.
You think he was a 10-pointer?
Easily.
Pearl white.
Yep, pearl white, ivory white. It was some of the whitest racks I've ever seen. So anyway, I immediately get on the radio because I know I don't have a chance in hell. And I'm like, Big Willie, big buck, Big Willie, big buck. And I'm like, put the radio back down in my pouch. And it was like seconds later, and you hear the kapow. And I'm like waiting, and it was like a pause, right? There was like a good pause there. And then you hear another shot ring off. And then a little pause again, and another shot ring off. And then that was it. And then it was nothing. And Big Willie's he's up there. He's all amped up. He's radioing down to me.
Who pulled in?
He's like, I shot. He's like, the first shot felt good. The rest of them were, I just was kind of, he didn't act like he was hit, so I just kept hammering. I was like, okay. So I went up, and he talked me through I let him stay in his spot. He talked me through as to where he shot. We found that we cut the deer's track.
What? Everyone's rolling in. Okay.
We cut the deer's track, and we followed it a ways, and we found I took a picture of it. He hit a tree, unfortunately, and we let the big one get
squared it right up too.
Squared it right
tree.
up. Yeah, he's hammered that tree. I was
that
gonna
poor
bring it back
tree.
and mount it for him.
In 50 years, that tree will be cut down,
Mhm.
and that'll be like a pretty unique piece of probably
the lead's
wood
in there.
furniture.
The lead's in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, it was pretty exciting.
I
wish
so
it
for
could've-
Dad. So for Dad, and we'll get his perspective. But I mean, this is his first hunt with us,
Yep.
and really, this is his first time hunting out of state for deer, and I think he had a great time.
Yep.
And he saw a lot of deer. He had an opportunity to shoot a big buck. He saw a buck yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that was Vogel's monster.
I think it was.
I think that, just hearing everybody talk about
That's
that
the
buck,
deer. That's the deer that stripped Jim of his gun last year.
That was Vogel's monster.
Yeah.
It disarmed him.
Yep.
Exactly the same spot, generally, same
pretty
area.
much, yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Same kind of description.
Yep.
And for a size comparison, I was asking. I said, how big was the buck that you shot at? And they said Billy's deer would have fit inside of this one.
What are you trying to say?
So I'm just saying there's a big buck out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Vogel's monster.
So you're not saying mine's
you got
small.
a nice
You're
one.
just saying
you got an old
out of
ass
all
buck.
the bucks, out of all the great bucks that were killed in this, that buck was substantially bigger. Period.
It's wild. That deer will live another year, and we will kill him next year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
He'll look good next year.
we are on to his game.
He'll look good next year.
Yeah.
Just gotta line him up.
Yep.
That's it.
So he's probably, let's just say he's 4 right now.
That's fair.
Right.
He's probably a good 3-year-old that Jimmy saw and got worked up.
Yeah.
I would say he's at least 4.
Yeah. So that was day 1 in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's it.
Came back here, we went back to our house, chilled out, had our own dinner, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
Day 2.
Day 2.
Day 2 was your day, Jim. It's a special day.
Special day.
Do you want to just tell us how your day started? What did you feel good? Did you have a good BM?
You know what?
Was everything?
I slept pretty good because
no, it was hotter than.
It was, but I slept like a rock because I was the driver for both drives the first day.
So I got a question.
Go ahead.
Do you shave your mustache down below your nose? Is that what you do there?
This right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I do.
I've been looking at that.
Yeah. Should I not do that?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Because when the hairs from the mustache grow up into the nose, it's kind of like.
Does your wife like that, or
tickly?
Does she say anything?
No, she doesn't say anything.
No. What about the hairs around? All right, I'm totally derailed, but I'm interested because you seem like you groom yourself.
You guys are getting
what about
awful-
here by your
awful
lip?
close up on
You
the
got to
mustache.
trim this shit back.
Look, he's putting listen. Can we get back to the podcast?
All right, you're right.
We'll talk about this.
All right, I'm sitting next to you on the couch. You just look good. You know,
Thanks, buddy.
Daddy.
It's not a couch. That's a love seat.
We've been spending too much time together.
That's a love seat.
Yeah, we need to get home to the women.
Yeah. Wife and children.
Anyway, I slept good. I woke up. I felt great. I was rejuvenated. I felt really good about the day, honestly, getting into it. I even told Dallas at the truck before we went in on the first drive, I feel really good about this one. He goes, "You always say that." And I go, "Yeah, I know." And he goes, "Yeah, well, I always say that too." And I was like, "Well, that's
you gotta be optimistic,
spreading positivity." So we had a little bit of trouble finding the trail, and actually we found there's 2 signs for the trailhead that we were going to, and one of the signs we found, and it was up off of the road, like 12, 15 feet up off the road.
Huh.
And so we just, and this was the steepest climb everything we do here is steep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all
But this was like hands.
Oh, that door's locked.
This was like hands and knees crawling steep.
door, just the main door. Thanks, AJ. I appreciate you.
Here, truck door's closing. We got to make sure we're open.
Yeah. This was hands and knees,
Open
like
for
crawling
business.
steep.
Yeah.
Right. And well, Brad, he's like he's built different. He just like motored right up it like a billy goat.
You leaving? All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go help. I'm gonna go help pack out the
Bill,
deer.
you keep derailing my stories. Every time you have me talk, it's just like you're not paying attention.
I'm so,
to me.
hold on, Jim.
All you
I'm
care
sorry.
about is my mustache.
This is Jim's day.
All you
I'm
care
gonna-
about is
I'm
my
gonna let,
mustache.
I'm gonna let
looking
Jim
at-
tell the story.
We should get Mr. Vogel back
Where are
over
you
here.
going?
Hey,
I gotta go help pack
Yeah,
the deer out.
get Vogel over here because
We need Jim
this
Vogel.
is his day too.
Hey, brother Dallas.
Brother Dallas.
Hey, look at that smile on that
oh,
sumbitch.
jeez.
It's good to see you, Dallas. Is that your bed? Are we in your bedroom right now? I'm sorry.
Keep it warm. What'd you do?
It's all right. The afternoon hunts are tough.
Yeah.
When we're trying to throw them together like that. All right, okay, tell your story. Sorry, go ahead. I'll edit that out.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
fine. Anyway, crawling on your hands and knees steep, okay, for a good ways, a good mile of that, because we just went up that. We didn't find that nice
There was
gradual trail that we walked
that we
hiked
walked
out on.
down.
Yeah. So the whole way in was just a ball buster. We finally crest the top, and it's a clear cut, which wasn't there the previous year.
No, right? It seemed like it was fresh, right?
Yeah, fairly. It was very
Yeah.
fresh. Anyhow, once we get there, I'm like, oh, thank God. And you could see like skid steer trails and stuff. So I was like, all right, nice. So we walk across that top, and I get over towards, the cut of the timber there where I'm supposed to drop in. And it's crunchier than all hell. It's like walking on thick bags of like Lay's potato chips. But I make my way down towards the saddle.
Big Willie.
And I find myself a good little place to sit down and rest. Big
Look
Willie.
at you. Full camo. Cheers.
Cheers.
You did it.
My first PA hunt.
How many miles did you do today?
Billy, you derailed my story.
God darn it. All right, we're going to listen to Jim's story first, okay?
I don't want to tell it anymore.
No, Jim. It's Dad's fault. Don't put that on me.
It's not Dad's fault.
my
He just
fault.
got back.
He's
just
the
got
one
back.
with ADD.
Yeah. Pay attention.
Listen,
Bill.
my parents never put me on medication. That's a problem.
So-
okay?
I didn't believe in it.
Yeah.
It's crunchier than all hell.
He's an anti-vet.
I creep my way. I wanted to be quiet and try to creep and see and look over the edge to see if there's anything down in that lower side.
Yeah.
It's too loud to do that. So I just kind of made my way, found a good spot, or a good vantage point of the clear cut and of where the drivers would be coming from, so I could see as far down as I could. I was happy with my setup, so I sat down for a while and waited. And it was a good. It was towards the end of the drive, so it was a good while.
Yeah.
And
what time did you shoot? It had to be like 9:45.
it was 10:10.
No, 10:10 when I was standing with you.
Okay, so
It was like,
maybe
let's just say it was like 9:30.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll say 9:30.
So, am I ruining your story? Because
Yes.
10:10's
Yeah,
the
you
story
should tell him. You
wanted it to
asked him
Yeah.
what time it was.
Yeah.
If he
You
said
asked
it
what
was
time it was.
10:10,
But I knew it was a lie. That's
check,
bullshit.
Check the time on
That's
the
some
tag.
bullshit.
Check the time on the
Okay,
tag.
okay, the tag. Okay, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's it.
That's when the knives were put away. It was
That's right.
10:10.
Yeah. So
Sorry, go ahead.
Anyway,
Again.
I could hear all sorts of thrashing and crashing below me, and there was where they had done some of the clear cut. There's a big stack of fallen trees, and just to the left of that, up pops this first deer, and I could see the nice rack, and that ends up being the buck that I shoot. But after he's coming, and they're coming at a good pace, not quite a full blown run, but a good heavy trot to where they're trying to get at the hell out of wherever they were. Right behind him was another buck that ended up being the one that Vogel ended up shooting. Another nice 8-point. Behind him was a small basket 8, behind him was a small basket 8. The next buck was the one that Greg ended up shooting, and the last buck was this really wide buck. And I thought that was the one that I wanted because as soon as he came up, you could see his frame kind of like the reflection of the sun off of his frame as he crested the ridge, and just like the way that he's silhouetted himself. I was like, wow, what a deer. So I'm trying to find him, and I get him in the scope for a split second. He gets behind that heavy brush, and I'm like, but as that's happening, and I'm trying to make my decision, the buck that I end up shooting made its way to like 40 yards, quartering to me, moving from my right to my left, and I already knew he was a shooter. So I just instantly put the rifle on him, center mass, and just squeezed it, and he dropped right where he was, like a bag of potatoes. Just, folded right in half. I let out a couple of hollers across the holler, and everybody heard me, I'm pretty sure, in the whole drive for the most part.
It was outstanding.
Yeah.
When I was directly across from you,
Yep.
and it was you shot, like right straight above me,
Yep.
and then it was just immediate, just
Yeah,
and then you came over the radio and you were yelling, you were like all this stuff.
I haven't been, and I'll tell everybody that this hunt was my best hunt of all time. Like just between all the guys, all the days, the quality of the bucks, the quality of the buck that I shot. I didn't shoot a buck at all last year in Pennsylvania. It was my first. I had a good string of a few years in a row where I was successful, and last year I wasn't, so I was a little down on myself. Able to shoot a nice buck on public land with the best hunters I know. It was like it all came together. Cheers to
that. You put a great shot on him, and it's just
a hammer of a deer.
In God's country.
In God's country.
It is God's country.
Lord's Valley.
Lord's Valley. You are a lord now.
I am.
Officially. So you shot that buck, and you knew that those other 3 bucks were still together, and they headed straight, whatever direction that was, they headed straight towards Jim.
As I'm hooting and hollering and celebrating with everything from within me, I watch those bucks run perfectly on the same elevation directly at Jim Vogel. So after in between yells, I get the radio, and I'm like, Jim, big buck's coming, big buck's coming, big buck's coming. He ended up never hearing me, he said on the radio.
Oh, he never heard you?
No, he never heard me. So these deer made their way to him, and he ends up cracking one off. We got to get him over here to tell his part, because this is where it transitions to the other guy.
Yeah, you want him to jump in here?
No, we got another one. Mr. Vogel.
Jim. Hey.
Mr. Vogel.
Vogel.
Get over here. Jim. We need you.
We need you.
The story has moved on to you, sir.
Yeah, put that headset on there. Okay? This is
Yeah.
I told my story, now it moves into yours.
No, he looks comfortable.
So good.
You look good.
You do look good.
10 miles, 61 years old.
It's amazing. You did 10 today. Kicked ass.
So
cheers.
Jim.
Proud of you, Big Willie.
Yeah.
Day 3, you're into your own.
So Jim, where I left off was after I shot my buck, and then those deer, and I was hooting and hollering. I got on the radio, tried to tell you that the bucks were coming.
Mhm.
You said you never heard me on the radio,
Never.
or hooting and hollering, and he was the closest to me.
Which is wild.
Yeah. These guys heard me for like a mile away.
I never heard you. Now, I mean, I heard the shot.
Yeah.
But nothing.
Yep.
That's crazy.
None of the after celebration.
So the deer scamper on the same elevation straight to you, and what happens?
I was, like I said, so you weren't. I didn't. After you shot, I didn't hear anything. So I'm like already still just hunting.
Yep.
I thought I seen 3 squirrels. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
Just like I'm like, here they come in. I'm like, well, they probably doe. I was thinking after you shot, I go,
Oh,
well,
that was a doe with him.
I go, maybe he had a buck with. There was a buck with 3 doe.
Mhm.
So and they went into this little beach brush, and I kind of turned, got down, got ready, and all of a sudden they all started spreading out, and I'm like, oh my god, every single one of them is bucks.
It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. I've never seen anything
Me
like
either.
that.
Unbelievable.
So
That's wild.
Greg, the one Greg shot, kind of went out, and I knew he was the big shooter.
Mm-hmm.
But he was out there about 100 some yards, but these other 2 were
Mm-hmm.
coming at 40. And I'm like, why take a shot way out that distance, a lot of thicker stuff when we have this guy right here.
Yep.
And he was legal too.
Yep,
So,
that's right.
so I let him come in about 30, well, he's about 45, 50 yards.
Everything was close.
Yeah.
And they were just walking. The
So
biggest thing-
they had settled down at that point.
They were settled down, and I think even Greg's deer was trying to, he was back on a trail of a doe. He acted like he was in his rut mode. You know what I mean? He's like, they didn't know what happened.
When I came down the point directly across from Jim, there was fresh buck rubs. Like those buck rubs were made within the last few days. The
Absolutely.
shavings were right on the leaves. And nothing was frozen or
Right.
had snow on it.
Especially after all the rain they
all
got
the-
on Wednesday here.
Right. So there was a lot of fresh bucks on that point across, and that's where those bucks came from. They came up the point, it came down the point, and then up to Jim, and then they came over to you. And I think it's a pretty interesting thing that those deer had already calmed down. They were maybe only 400 yards away from where Jim had killed one of them, point blank.
And was screaming.
Yeah. And those bucks were calmed right down
Yeah.
by the time they got to you.
So then I shot the one I shot. He dropped, and the other one stood right there, and he's just walking around like, what's going on? And he just kind of, even after that, they still just kind of trotted, kind of got together. And
well, there's just two of us now. I guess we don't have to fight too much.
And they totally went out of range or out of my sight. And then I just, I learned down here, you don't know what's going to happen. I let everything just settle, and then they came right back. They came right back down in the valley and up to Greg, and he got the shot at 120-some yards.
Unbelievable, Jim.
Yeah.
And you dropped him. And so I shot once, dropped him in his tracks. You shot once, dropped him in his tracks.
And then Greg shot one. He went a little ways, but
yeah. There was 4 bucks, and at this point we killed 2 of the 4 in that bachelor group.
First there was 4. Then
First-
there was
then
3.
there was
Which
3.
I can't
Then there
believe-
was 2.
So all
Then
the
there was
bucks
2.
and all the bucks were shooter bucks except the one, right?
The last
one was just a big Y.
Well, he was a 6-pointer with no brows, so he was a
6-pointer, no
shooter
brows.
too.
Oh, he was a shooter too.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so all 4 bucks were shooter
right,
bucks.
the one that you said
that one was really wide. Right? You
Yes.
saw him too. He
I'd
was
probably-
incredibly
I would
wide.
say 17 wide.
Yeah.
From my judge.
Nice.
Yep. When he came up and I seen his frame like reflect off the sunlight and silhouette himself, I thought he was a freaking hammer.
Mhm.
So I was trying to find him first, and then my deer came up, and it gave me like you said, it was like you're not going to not take a shot that's that good.
No,
you
you
know
have
what I
to
mean.
take
You
that
just
shot.
that's it.
Yeah.
The way I looked at it is all 4 of them came up in their pecking order.
Mm-hmm.
You got the biggest one. Then I seen the first one that Greg shot,
Mm-hmm.
or he'd have been the second. The one I shot was a third, and the last one, he thought, well, I don't have brow time.
We
so
got
I'll do
3 of the 4
4
biggest ones in the group. That's the
exactly.
best
It's
part.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freaking amazing.
And that was.
And then Dales was like, they said they got 3 down, but I there's got to be a miscommunication. There's no way. I heard 3 shots. I can't believe there's 3 down.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
there
you
was.
guys were all over the ridge from us, and DJ all of a sudden got into a point where he started showing up on my radio, and I'm like, oh, I got to make sure that they know that we shot deer because it's going to totally change the day. So I'm radioing to DJ, and Jim and I are in the process of butchering his deer, and I go, 3 dead bucks, and DJ's like, bucks? What do you mean bucks? I go,
coming your way.
3 dead bucks.
And to backtrack for a second, as we're butchering my deer, and we already took pictures and we're hanging out, a pile of does came up in
Yeah, there was like 7 doe.
Yeah, that came up, and
Yeah.
they were working their way right at us.
Yeah, and then we turned and saw them.
Yep.
And they kind of freaked out and went the other way. But yeah, it was a 7-pack of does.
Unbelievable.
It was that area, man. I'll tell you that.
That area produced last year, right? Brad shot
That
one
area
there.
produced 2 bucks last year and produced 3 bucks this year. And there could have been more. I mean, you saw.
We might
I
need
saw
to give
that buck out in front of Dallas.
Yeah.
We might need to give that area a rest. I
We're-
think we killed them all.
No.
Probably could have
Nah.
done. Probably could have done that again today, and maybe had more
I bet.
success, too.
You're right.
And we probably could. And that's the tough part is that we've got our core hunts that we do, and they produce, and it's like, but then like these ancillary hunts, like what do you do? You know what I mean? Like what do you add on? What do you try?
Right.
And like we were talking on the way out when we were driving out tonight, like some of these small tops, these clear cuts that you see small sections, like, you know, when we've got like an afternoon like today where you've got an hour or 2 hours, like split the groups up and say, okay, we're just going to surround this area and have some guys go through this like clear cut on this top and not try to drop down in a bottom or do anything crazy, you know? I don't know. But it is so consistent. We have Vogel Valley. We got this new one, what do we call what do we call in this valley where we just dropped these 3 bucks? What do we call it?
JD.
Death Valley.
I was going
Death
to call
Valley.
it Death Valley,
Death Valley.
because
Valley.
we freaking
I
killed
like
them.
We gotta call it Death Valley.
Yep.
Have you ever done a drive 2 days in a row, same, or is
We have done
Like-
we have done a drive twice in a hunt, but not 2 days in a row.
Gotcha.
But I think you could. Like I was messaging with Ralph Schurter. I was actually talking on the phone with Ralph Schurter, who's an outdoor writer who lives right here, and he's got a lot. He hunts this area that we hunt. That's how we connected with him. He was the guy that was tracking. He had years
of history with Trigger's buck, with his 12-pointer.
Right. Remember that.
So I've been in touch with Ralph, and he was telling me last night that I sent him the pictures of the bucks that we shot, or my buck that I shot on Thursday, and I talked to him last night after we shot those 3 bucks, and he tells me that he's like, he goes, I got cell cams down in that area, and he goes, I got a bunch of good shooter bucks on camera last night on cell cam.
No shit.
So it's like there's just like that area where we hunted today, Vogel Valley, like we didn't get nothing going in the Super Bowl. And then we finally got deer up and going once we got up into Vogel Valley.
Side, yeah.
And there was a lot of deer in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
there was
tough.
probably deer you didn't even see that.
I know, it was so
moving. There was a lot
foggy.
yeah.
Today the fog saved a lot of deer, I think, because nobody could see anything.
Yeah.
Right. I bumped that fork horn down to Rob. I'd never seen that.
You never
I was
saw
right
it?
above him. It was wide open.
Yeah.
So he goes, hey, you came right down to me. I'm like,
The fog, it
Yeah.
was thick in there.
Yeah.
I just pulled up my Instagram. And my wife commented on my post of the deer because she put hashtag.
Feed them. She knows.
She's an
knows.
honorary pert near outdoors.
She knows. She knows. She
I
knows
gave
where
her my seed.
She's know where her bread's buttered. Yeah. Send us a Christmas card.
feeding them here, and I'll feed you when I get home.
Yeah, ain't breeding them no more.
That's right.
So I don't know if Greg wants to tell his perspective.
let
Greg
Greg
needs to
jump
tell
on.
his perspective.
Sure. You have Greg jump on.
Yeah,
But
let me
I
go,
want
Greg.
you.
We
I
need
want
you,
you
buddy.
back though, because I want to hear your.
Yeah, you got to come back. Go get
your
changed.
reflection.
Relax. Go get changed. Relax.
Well, no, because he's. I mean, if he wants to
Big
go,
Will,
but you have to go home.
Big
Oh,
Will
that's
should
right, you
talk
gotta-
about his first.
Yeah, we
trip
got
down
you
here.
on the
We can round
headset
back.
right now. So, Big Willie.
I saw a bear this afternoon.
What?
Come on.
Yeah, Pete kicked a bear out.
Did he
No
shit in the
shit.
woods?
Yeah, he's beautiful.
Did the bear shit
Big
in the
bear.
woods?
Yep.
Did it shit in the woods? Did you watch it shit?
No, I think
Oh.
it's shit before it came to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was empty.
Yeah.
All right, so tell that. How did that go?
Yeah.
Well, we tried to cram that drive in this afternoon, and hey, I mean, if you're not in the woods, you're not gonna.
You can't kill nothing
you
from
can't
the
kill
couch.
nothing from the sofa. You know what I mean? So
We certainly.
But it was a
Unless the
good
window's
push,
open.
but we had trouble getting down in as far as we wanted to get it. I think it was like a mile and a
Was
half
it thick?
down in. Yeah, there was a lot of clear cut there, and so. But we got down in the area that we went into was not logged last year when Dallas scouted it, and they're actively logging it now. So it was like you were ankle deep in mud. And
Oh Jesus!
it was. So it started getting dark, and
Poor Dallas. Dallas has tried to put some shit together, and
Yeah,
it just
and
didn't work out the way.
Crispy said, "Just get on stand, just pick a spot."
Yeah.
We got to stop trying to get to our spots because they already started. The pushers already started. So
Yeah.
there was me, Chris, and Rob that set up. And we weren't that far apart, but then Pete was trying to get down to the creek, and it was so thick he couldn't get through, and he kept trying. But anyways, he pushed through and bumped this bear out to me. So I got to see that, and then
How close did it get?
probably 80 yards.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just a single, so probably a male, right?
Yeah, probably a boar. Yeah, yeah. He was
Good
by
size,
himself.
or-
Yeah, he was big, puffy, beautiful.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
Just beautiful.
I mean, you haven't seen that many bears. If you don't,
Yeah. So I mean, it was
really
great
cool.
to see that, and I was hoping that Chris would have seen him because he kind of went down towards the creek, and Chris was on a knob overlooking that area, but he never saw him, so I don't know where he went. But it was great to see him. I didn't see any deer. I actually didn't see any deer at all today, but I saw absolutely tremendous deer sign in. I don't know, what do you guys call that? The Vogel Valley or the Super
Yeah.
Bowl?
That's kind of wild. You didn't see any deer today.
Never saw a deer. But it was,
But it was
fog.
it was fog. The fog was rough.
I
man.
saw a lot of sign where I was pushing them, fresh tracks ahead of me, and I was absolutely amazed. I went back. Chris dropped off, and then I had to keep going and go across the top, and then I was going to drop down that one on that ravine. And don't ask me how. Somehow I dropped over like the top of the hill. Like I'm used to back home. The top of the hills are like multiple. Like I mean, you go a long ways to get across top
Right.
of the hill. But I was on the hill, and then I was going along, and I saw this draw. I could see the draw and the terrain, and I'm like, well, that's got to be the valley I need to go down. And so I picked the ridge on the right, and I got over there and went down in there, and I got down like a third of the way and set up, and then I'm sitting there and I'm hearing a machine running off to my left, and I was like, got thinking about it, and when I got out of the truck with Chris, I heard that machine running, and I'm like, "What's that machine?" He goes, "Well, that has to do with the natural gas, that they extract
well.
out."
Yeah.
Gas well. But it was off to my right, so I thought it should have still been to my right. So then I pulled my phone and stuff, started looking at it. I went over the mountain. I'm on the other side of the mountain from you guys, and a total like by myself. It was beautiful though.
Yeah.
Great
Oh,
spot.
that side of the mountain's awesome.
Oh, it was beautiful. So, but anyways, I had to climb back up that ridge, and then get back up on top, and then get across the top, which ended up being like incredibly small. All of a sudden, you just drop over.
But aren't those tops cool? Those
Oh
little
my
ridges
God. And
the
scrapes.
sign
I
is
saw
amazing.
More deer
Yeah.
signs, scrapes,
Yeah.
and rubs, and
The
and
sign
going
on
across
those.
the top. It was unbelievable. And then I got over to that. I was on the right edge now, and I dropped down into that and got on the finger and came down, and there was tracks, droppings, ton of deer sign.
Yeah.
So I made it all the way down there, and then ended up getting down to the creek bottom, and I've always heard about like in Pennsylvania, like they got all these these creek bottoms, right? So after I knew where you were and you were close, I thought, well, I should get in the bottom, and I did, and I walked right down the bottom. It was just scrapes, rubs, droppings, signs. I was just unbelievable. It was.
It's
like
that,
it was raining.
That area
foggy.
where you were is exactly what everyone talks about with Pennsylvania creek bottoms. Like I know we listen to and follow along with Bo Martonic.
Yeah,
and he
Bo
talks a lot about
that all the time.
He likes to hunt the bottoms, and that's just exactly the scenario. Like that area, I think
That's
about
what I
that
was
all
thinking
the
when I
time.
was down there. I'm like, this is what Bo Martonic's always talking about.
It's that is the quintessential creek bottom down there.
Oh, it's
because you have
gorgeous.
all those different ravines coming down, those different valleys all meet at the same point, and that river or that creek down there starts.
So when I met up with all you guys there by Vogel Valley when you were going to go up, I should have stayed there. I should have, like when you went up, I should have stayed there.
In case anything doubled back.
In case anything doubled back down.
Yep.
But I went over and there's a draw coming down, and that's where Rob was going up when I snuck up on Rob. And,
You got to tell that because Jim told me.
Yeah.
I thought it was Howie. I see this guy standing there, and he's like, getting ready to go up the hill or whatever. So I go, and I got to like cross the creek, go up the creek edge and through the brush and everything. And so he's
Did you
standing
hear
there.
this, Jim?
I've heard bits and pieces.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I'm like, I wonder how close I can get to him, So I flip the switch. I go into stealth mode, and I'm getting up, and I walk up, and I'm standing right next to him, behind him, right next to him. So I reach over, and I got my hand above his right shoulder, and I got my head by his head, and I grab his shoulder. I go, how's it going? And his eyes were like this big, and he's like, holy shit. He goes, Jesus. He's like, you scared the hell out of me. He's like, where'd you come from? And then he's looking at me, he's like, I can't believe it. He goes, you really do drift through the woods like the autumn breeze. I go, you tell Billy that. You tell him that. It's true.
That is funny shit, man.
He goes, I'm here. He goes, all of a sudden, he goes, honestly, God, you scared the hell out of me.
That concerns me about him because your senses as a human being is that you should be able to sense that there's something within your radius.
Be looking
like,
360
he's
at
primed.
least once every 5 minutes.
He's primed for like mountain lion or bear. To
Oh,
be
he's
gnawing on
he
him.
will be killed.
If he had like stepped back or turned, he'd have hit me. I was that close. I'm like right next to him.
Oh my
So it was a
God.
riot. And I'm like, hey, good luck. I'll see you. And I took out, and he goes, it's unbelievable. And I go, that's why I tell you, it's almost unethical when I hunt deer because it's not fair to them. They should.
They don't even know.
They don't even know that I'm there.
You walk up behind him and tap him on the shoulder.
So, but I should have stayed right there, like at that draw.
Yeah.
What I did was I moved up a little farther, and I think Jim was up there, and I saw that Jim was up above. So if you go a little further, there's a nice stream, a creek bed that comes in from the other side.
Yeah.
So I
That's
was
the Super
on the
Bowl
logging
stream.
road.
That's a Super Bowl stream.
And I was right there, so I could see all 3 of those fingers that came down. And
Yeah.
when you guys, like I did,
You were where I wanted you to go, but obviously it didn't work out the way that it could have.
well, and I don't even know if that buck came down. Maybe he looped around, stayed up on
right,
the side.
who
It could
knows?
have been
Right.
100 yards or 50 yards. You
Yeah.
haven't seen him with the
You can only
fog,
see
so.
75 yards with the fog and everything.
So after you guys said there was a buck down there, then you said sit tight.
Could
till
you
we
hear
finished.
me?
I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me, and then
Yeah.
Chris relayed.
Right. Okay.
So I actually went back down and sat on the logging road, right at that point where those draws come together.
Yeah.
Until you guys, and then you must have gone over the top. I couldn't hear you, and then I think there was a shot. I think That's when AJ got his. And so I figured, well, they must be gone. And I just continued on that logging road. Oh, my God. Like I say, I didn't see any deer, but, man, did I see deer country and rubs and scrapes. The deer sign was just incredible. So I went all the way up there, and I was supposed to go to the right, and I would have come out probably where you guys brought out the deer.
Yeah.
But I think you had told Chris to have me cross and come up by him, so I did. But that was long. It was 2.5 miles out, I think, from up there once I met up with him.
You would have been more than that to come out the other way.
Yeah.
So, and seeing that Brian had already gone through there, it was like, I don't really see the point for you to have to go all the way up and out that way.
Yeah, so I just, I got to a certain point. I'm like, I got a long ways to go. I better just start walking. So I started moving. We didn't get out till, I think, like 1:30. But it was, ended up being, I went 7 miles on that.
It's the average today.
Yeah, that was the average, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, we did like
That was
7.5
on the first drive.
on the last drive today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we did, almost 3 on this last one. So,
Yep.
Yeah. But it was a great day. It was great. It's just awesome to see the country and how the drives are set up and how productive they are, and it was a lot of fun.
So Billy, we've been telling the stories kind of like in order from the first day up to the last day. And we got to like when me and Jim and Greg killed a deer. And I told the perspective of the deer you shot at from my perspective, but I wanted to have the listeners listen to your side of the story.
Yeah. So that was first day in the afternoon. And so I get down, I think probably in the same spot that you were, Jim, last year.
Yep.
Same general area.
Very, very close. Yep.
And so I think I had talked to you. You were going to come across up through the valley or whatever. And we had just talked, and I could see where you were. And then all of a sudden I heard all this crashing down there by you, and I figured I thought you would like
fell
down the hill but I mean it was just a hell of a lot of noise.
JD down.
Yeah.
and then I heard you calling.
I thought it was a bear.
Yeah, there's a big buck coming.
Yep.
And that son of a gun, he come up through the hemlocks and the beech brush over there to my right. So I got down on a knee and I was watching over there, and he came up through, and I'm just telling myself, you got to make sure he's got 3 to a side. Just play it cool till you know he's legal, right? And then all of a sudden, I saw him come through, and then he turns and he's like and all I see is like horns.
Yeah.
I'm like,
there's no doubter.
There's a no doubter.
Yep.
And then I was like, holy cow, I get. Yep. But he was on the move, sneaking up through there, and on the first one, I really thought I had him. I was like on a knee, and I was on him, and I don't know if I hit some brush or something. And I really expected him to just drop right there. And I shot. That was my best shot, other than the 4th one that I didn't take because I was trying to get on him too good, but I should have just let one rip there because I was on him. But then the other 2, he was like just running, not fast, but just kind of trotting up through the wind. It was just thick in there. And I'm letting him fly. And I hit a tree on the 2nd shot, and the 3rd shot, I don't know, it just clean missed him. And then the 4th shot, he stopped, and I got on him. He was in the crosshairs, and I was trying to brace on a tree and get really, I was right. You
were trying to be really precise.
I was trying to be really precise, take my time on the shot, and I started to squeeze, and then he jumped into that brush on the top and headed right off by that the old logging road that heads off in the other direction. And I was sick because I just know the behavior. I'm shooting a 30-06,
Sure.
And I knew, like, if I hit him, I'd have seen the body language,
100%,
right?
100%.
So I'm like, I did not hit that deer at all.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe that I missed him. I couldn't believe it.
That's great.
I was sick about it. And then I find out that you missed a big one there last year, real white rack, big rack. I'm like, yeah, it's the same damn
as
deer.
Gotta be. Gotta be.
It's got to be the same deer.
He was.
But I was sick about that. I mean, I had that opportunity right there in my lap. And I should not have shot. I should have waited him out.
Willie's.
I should have waited him out because I think he probably would have offered me a better shot.
He had no idea where you were. But like any of us, we would have got excited and did the same thing, been right on him and just trying to shoot at any opportunity.
Yeah. Well, that's why I figure I don't know what he's going to do next.
Sure.
If he wins me or something and he takes off bolts in the other direction, it's like I had him. He was in the crosshairs. I got to try and get him down.
Absolutely.
And you feel bad because the guys are working so hard to push a deer.
Yeah.
And then, they push one to you and you miss it. But, it happens. Right?
But at least you got a shot and you had an opportunity. That's as a pusher, you just want to hear the guns go off.
That's right.
Like, because you're working. Like today, it's like you do all that walking on these side hills. It's freaking raining. It's like, it's awful. But then you hear AJ shoot 3.
I know. I was
and
like,
I
double
swear,
fist pumping, like, yes.
I swear to God, that gun going off with the fog and rain,
Yeah,
like you could
echo.
hear it. You could hear it like in the vapor of, I don't know,
Yeah.
in the vapor of the moisture in the air. You could hear
Which,
it.
by
It
the
was
way,
like-
he's shooting a bolt action,
Yeah.
and he rang
He
them
shot
off pretty
fast.
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 Did he really?
Pretty
Yeah.
fast for a
He was
bolt
racking
action.
them up.
Oh boy.
That deer, those 3 shots he had, we saw exactly where he sat where he was sitting, because when we got to him,
We didn't have any sign of anything when we got to him.
yeah. So when we got to him, he was over there looking around trying to figure out. He hadn't seen anything. So Jim and I get there and we're like, AJ, go to where you were sitting. We need you to sit where you're sitting, and you tell us. And I had followed Jim had followed some fresh tracks in, running tracks, and I had followed a fresh single track in. Oh yeah, bush. So cold. Jim.
Good shot. Good shot.
I had followed a single fresh track in. The track that I was on was the track of the buck, and he came right down and came right to exactly where AJ said. The deer stopped and saw AJ. The buck was. We don't know AJ. None of us know what exactly happened. There was 3 does that came in to AJ first, and he was watching the does to his. He was sitting, looking this way. The does came in straight to him and went to his right. And then he caught movement, and it was the buck coming to his left. But the buck was like following, kind of shadowing the does.
The buck caught his movement then because the buck's behind him, so AJ's trying to spin to get a look at him.
Yeah.
And that movement is what the buck caught.
The buck caught AJ moving. The buck stopped, and he was quartered away.
It was quarter away. He was going
Quarter
downhill.
away.
Yep.
So AJ shot and thought he felt really good about the shot. It was 40 yards and was aimed right behind the shoulder. Deer just took off running, and he racked and shot again. I mean, and that second shot couldn't have been 10 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, lever
Seconds,
action.
you mean?
Or
Yeah.
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 No, I'm saying like
No, he,
from where he hit,
it, you could tell
from
where
where the
it hit.
deer had stopped,
Yep.
and where AJ had, where we saw the white hair.
Oh, he only made it like 10 yards
before
got
he
the
shot
second
again,
shot?
and the deer was
Holy cow.
running. So like he racked that
and
round fast.
I'm 99% sure he hit him on the first shot and missed those.
No,
second two.
he hit him twice.
He hit him twice.
So he
Okay.
hammered him on
I
the
didn't
first
see the
shot
second
behind
hole.
the shoulder.
Okay.
The second hole was the one that cut open all up by his
Oh,
groin
down, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
because all
then.
that white hair.
I thought he did that falling down the
Okay.
hill.
Yeah. So he hammered him on the first shot, but the bullet didn't exit. So there was no like hair flying. There was no blood. There was no nothing.
Right.
Second shot, he hit him right by the groin and there was white hair all over the place. So we're standing there. I'm standing where AJ said the buck was originally standing, and I'm looking like 10 yards down
And you see
from
the
me,
hair.
and I'm like, and it's just like everything's wet and brown.
Yep.
And I'm like, is that hair right there? And you were standing right there, and you're like, yeah, that's hair. So AJ was sitting where he shot, and Jim was to my left, right at the hair, and I'm standing where the buck was standing when AJ originally shot. And bam, bam, we're right on it. So I start looking, and where the hair was, I mean, it was raining hard at that moment. Like, the rain really started coming down.
Oh, it poured.
In and out. The rain
Yeah.
was like in and out pouring. And I'm sitting there looking at a log, and there's a log with white hair on it. And I'm like, that looks like blood. Like, it's wet, but I'm like, that looks like blood right there. So I rub my finger on it. Sure enough, it's blood. So we start going. All of a sudden, this thing really starts bleeding. And there's some more white hair again. So I think he ended up where he hit him on the groin. He basically like cut like right in front of his privates. He cut him open. So like when we actually got to
So
deer,
he just like skinned him.
he
across
skinned
there?
him and opened it up. So like his intestines
He
and
didn't
stuff.
gut shoot him, or
No, there was no
Wow.
guts or nothing.
Wow.
He
That that shot though played a major factor into finding this.
That-
deer. 'Cause
that
without
shot was
that,
key.
there's no hair,
Yeah.
and we don't continue.
we had the running track. We could have fought. The
but there was a-
conditions were perfect for tracking a running deer because it's very
Everything's
obvious their
kicked up.
tracks.
Yeah.
And punching into those wet leaves.
But
you
it made
could
a
track
big
'em.
difference having that white hair, so
Major.
you knew
Yeah.
you had a hit.
Major.
Right. We had hair. So we start going and like I don't know. At that moment, AJ's not here. He went back to
You
get
found a pinky-sized speck of blood,
right
initially
on that wet blood on that log, and
I'm like not feeling that great about it. I'm thinking this is a flesh hit because of this white hair.
Yep.
I'm like, it's belly. That deer's just dripping blood. That's what this is. Like, this deer's fine. Like, he's not dying. But we start going, and like the blood starts intensifying. Like, there were spots where we let AJ follow the track, and AJ's like, a lot of blood. Oh, blood, way more blood here. And then all of a sudden, it was almost like Jim was taking pictures of it. It was like lung matter.
Yeah.
The deer was like spitting out.
It was like coagulated blood. It
Yeah.
was like coughing it out.
I've never seen anything like it. It was like
unbelievable.
It was like globs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy.
That's
like,
when you know you got.
I'm like,
hit.
he hit this. I think he hit this deer really
I
good.
think he was coughing up his lungs.
And he was just going straight, like angling straight downhill towards where the creek comes up, right below where you have sat all those times and shot those bucks.
Yep.
So I'm just keep going. We're following AJ, and we get to the point where it crests over, and AJ's almost down to the creek, and that deer died right on the creek, like right in the creek.
So
bed.
he went down.
His
all the way to the bottom?
face was in it. Face was in the creek.
Yep.
Wow.
But he was dead
So
on
you
his
guys had
feet.
to go all the way down,
All the way
push
down.
him, and then all the way back
yeah,
up.
after we already came out.
Yeah. So
Let
but
me just say, congrats to AJ. That was a hell of a nice buck.
and
I know he busts his butt up here.
Yeah, and AJ's he's had lots of opportunity up here. He's had several shots and never connected. So when he shot, and it's like there's always that little bit of doubt because you don't see him go down. You don't know what happened.
Right.
Just like with me. But I was so happy for him. And
awesome.
he was really pumped up. He shot a great buck with his gun last year, but like he didn't even know what that deer was.
Yeah.
Like he shot that buck.
Probably a good thing.
And when Jim and I got to him, and Jim's like, or AJ looks at us, he goes, guys, I'm sorry, but he goes, I don't even know if that was a legal buck. He's like, I just saw a horn and I shot.
Yeah, he said it had good frame. That's all he said.
That's all he knew. But dark rack, foggy, rainy, dark. Like that deer, you don't necessarily get a full depiction of what that deer is.
Right.
I'm thankful because we busted our butts to get over there.
Yeah, but we come over the hill and AJ's there, and I see AJ's like, got him, and so, but we still can't see, so we come over a little bit, and you look down, and I'm like, oh my God, look at the beams, and AJ's like,
Right up past his nose.
yeah,
You just see that beautiful beam sticking out of the water. Just
it's the best.
Yeah.
It's just like when I
Those are
walked up
gorgeous bucks.
when I walked up on you, I could see the beam. That's like always when you can walk up and you see
that beam
the
sticking
deer
up.
lane, and
Yeah.
the beam is like telling you how big that buck is. It's like, yeah.
How many people you think down here would have walked away from thinking I didn't even hit that deer? Or
Yeah,
I went
a lot of people.
50, 75 yards. I mean, you have to follow
Even the buck I shot, like
and having an extra set of or
Yeah.
3 extra set
That's
of
the
eyes.
beauty.
glad we
on
were all
that.
there. I'm glad.
that's the beauty of having
Absolutely.
our group, our team, and we have a lot of experienced hunters
Absolutely.
that like analyze everything. Like Chris, when I shot my buck, he did not depart from his plan, but he knew he was looking for a body. So he was looking uphill. He was looking around. He knew that I said that I did not see that buck come out. So like once he got below me, he was being very attent to like, is there something? And he spotted that deer laying there dead.
Right.
So for all the kids and the new hunters listening to this,
All the children.
yeah, all the children. When we got there, the first
Nom,
thing
nom,
we
nom,
did was first thing I did when I approached the scene.
Nom.
when I approached the scene, is I asked AJ. I said, "AJ, am I standing anywhere near where the buck was?" And he said, "No." And I was like, "Okay," because I didn't want to obviously
Yeah.
mess up anything.
I'm not moving.
The second thing that we did then is Billy made him go back to his original spot, so that way we could see where he was, and he told us where to walk us to where the deer was. Those are two key factors in getting started.
Yeah, when you have the extra help, that's key.
Yep.
You know, and that's one thing that, I mean, my first time here, right? First time meeting a lot of these guys.
Majority of people here.
Yeah.
You only know a few guys.
And I mean, top shelf hunters. These are like this is a
Elite.
this is
This
a
is
legit,
elite
legit group of hunters. These guys, like everybody here, you can just tell these guys know what they're doing. It's like this is the A team, you know.
And I got to say, you did pretty damn well. For
You did.
yourself.
Thank you.
I mean,
Well,
you're an inspiration for, all of us guys
Hey.
getting through this over the,
Way better than me in my first year. I can tell you that.
well, and
we
and
just pray that we can be
Right.
still doing this at your
Yeah,
dad's
60,
Well, you look at-
61
and
years
you look
old,
at-
awesome.
knocking
like-
off 10 miles.
Chris is 62, and he's
Absolutely.
he's been doing this sort of stuff for a long time. But I've always told Dad, I said, you think you don't know if you can do this or not, but I'm like, we hunt in Naples, you hunt in Dansville,
Right.
Jim. Like these hills are
Right.
they are no steeper
No, they're
They're
not.
no less steep than these
A
hills
little
down
longer.
here. Just longer.
And
but
some
if
of
you,
them aren't even longer than what we have at camp.
Right.
I felt like I was on the North Hill when I was coming down. You know, I mean, it's
It's-
stuff I've done every day.
Right. You've
and
been
I'm
doing
picking
this
out
since you
spots
were
and-
14 years
Yeah,
old.
and I'm picking out spots. I'm like, the deer would be right in that spot, and I go over there, and there's droppings and trails, and you know, so it was just many spots today reminded me of what we hunt. It's like Naples on steroids.
Yeah, it is.
Because it just goes in, like you can go 7 miles, and you ain't got to worry about, oh, am I off my property? Am I on somebody else's property?
Right.
That's what I loved about
That's
it.
what I love the most down here.
Yeah, you just go.
Yeah,
These state game lands are incredible. The way they're managed for timber creates great habitat for everything from grouse, bear, white-tailed deer, turkey. It's like these guys got it going on down here. This
They
is
do.
unbelievable.
Yeah. And you, so what was your first year, Jim, coming down
2019.
here? 2019 was your first.
Yep.
19 was your first year?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 4 years.
Okay. So, but Jim had never hunted out of state. You'd never really hunted anywhere other than.
Well, I hunted Colorado, but
You had hunted Colorado
not-
for elk.
Yeah, public,
or for-
private, probably,
yeah.
you know. So
But you had never done anything like this. So you came down here with us, and
Not
you were
with a
like,
gang,
you were like, oh my god, like this was a shocker to your
the most
system.
drives I've ever done was with 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
And that was back when I first started.
Yeah.
You know, before all the land got posted up back home. So
Now
then
you
wh-
really just
then
don't
when we
have.
bought our own property, we're just like narrowed down to like pretty much we're all sitters
Right.
every day, all day.
Right.
So I mean, it gets boring.
Yeah.
But
after a while.
the proof's in the puddings here. These deer, they hang on the side hills. They bet on the side hills.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the uphill push was very productive because they see you coming. When you got, I love the uphill push because when you're on top, a lot of times they might let you go by. Like that deer that Dallas got up yesterday, he was within 80 yards of that deer, and I was looking up, and there was a little bit of a bench there, and there was some logs. I'm like, that's where a deer would be laying. So I was watching that spot. All of a sudden, I see a buck get up and, stay low, just sneaking. He didn't bust down towards me, but he just kept going at that elevation, dropped over into the next bowl.
I noticed that a lot, especially walking the last 2 days, is that a lot of the deer that I was jumping never changed elevation. They stayed at the same elevation and just kept going.
Mm-hmm.
And then even the deer I shot, I'm fairly certain that they stayed at that same elevation when I saw them wrap around that point.
I think they like that. There's security at that elevation, and they only go down if they have to, I think, But when you're
because
when you're
they know
coming,
that the bottoms are wide open and it's dangerous down there. They know that.
Right.
So
that's
like,
why that buck, when you guys called me and said there's a big buck coming down to the creek, that buck, I stayed there and I watched, and I never saw anything, and I wouldn't be surprised if he looped around and stayed right up on that side hill.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because all the bucks we killed and all the bucks that we shot and missed at all came from bottoms or were at the bottom.
came from the bottom,
Yeah,
but were
right.
killed towards the top.
Were killed. That's correct. They were making their way out.
Actually, so that's
circling back.
So
to
mine
where
was
they came
killed.
from, right.
Mine was
Yeah,
killed
exactly,
towards
Jim.
in the upper third. Mine was.
Which is textbook.
Yep. And then so the second buck was yours.
Mhm.
That was upper third.
But they came from.
They
low.
came from below, but you killed them upper third.
That's right.
And then same thing with those two.
Mhm.
And then today, AJ's was upper third
And
too.
Greg killed low because the deer was pushed that
They
way.
were pushed down,
Yeah,
back down.
yep.
Yeah. But that was the one. That's one
But
of the
it's
things.
amazing. Like you could come up here, like there was maybe 20 guys here, right? And you could come up here with 20 guys, and you have a 25% success ratio, right? I mean, it's like there's 5 guys going home with damn nice bucks. But you come up here with 5 guys, and you try and do. I'm like you might go home with nothing.
That's right.
You
Needle in a
but
haystack.
So I mean, hats off to Dallas.
It's
for
almost
putting together
always
these.
it's almost always about that 25% ratio. Like we had those couple years where we shot 6 bucks in a row, and that was pretty incredible. But we had several drives where we shot 2 bucks, and we had opportunities. We could have killed. So we missed. Jim missed one, which Jim ultimately ended up killing. But
I missed
you
one.
missed one.
Yep.
We figured out Sunday it was 9 out of 15 people had success,
There you go.
and maybe 3 or 4 others had. At
So
least
we're
seen
over
a buck, you know what I
50%.
mean?
That's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, we almost tied the record, which is 6. But the caliber overall, this was hands down.
They're
the
all-
best.
Oh
they're
my
all
God,
mature
they're all
bucks.
beautiful bucks.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Hey, do we want to have Greg jump on?
I want to get
'Cause
Greg.
I'll go
Hey,
back. and
Greg,
get
we want to
cleaned
get
up.
we
Yeah,
gotta
if
get
you wanna go
Sam
back
on
and
here because I
clean
want to
up,
hear
yeah.
the young guys' first experience.
Yeah, I want to get Sam and Kurt on here together.
Yeah.
Yep.
At some point. But
Who do
if we
you
want
want
to get
first?
Greg,
You want-
good, grab Greg.
Hey, Greg. Greg, would you be willing to jump on and tell your story?
Come on, Gregory.
Oh, Gregory.
Oh, Greg, the new guy,
All right,
dropping
Big,
the
Big Willie
hammer.
signing off.
Proud
I'm
of you,
gonna
Big
go get
Willie.
cleaned up and get out of
All
these
right.
camels.
Yeah,
Here,
check
Greg.
yourself for ticks.
Jim, you stay on. I'm going to head out.
Well, anybody. Brother Dallas. Brother Dallas
Brother
on here?
Dallas. Brother Dallas.
Okay.
My head's too big for this thing.
No. Now, well, yeah, because you shoot 10-pointers.
That's
No.
right. 10-point Greg. That's your new nickname.
So we,
genetic.
It is genetic. So we skipped by you because you weren't over here. But so we told Jim's story. Jim shot, went bang. $2 were left.
Mm-hmm.
Go from there. So you heard Jim shoot.
I heard Jim D shoot.
Okay.
Said Jim Vogel coming at you. So I just stayed where I was, found a nice little knob, and then he shot and said trigger coming at you. So I was like, oh, I'm done. But then he said they came back, circled around, and then said coming at you. So, well, after the first time when he said trigger coming at you, I heard ch ch ch. So I got down, got ready. Here comes a coyote.
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't even know that.
I was like, oh, I better not waste this thing, and then the deer will be a minute away, you know.
That was a good choice. Most of us would have shot that coyote.
Yeah. So he came right through where the bucks did, too.
Mm-hmm.
So then after Jim Vogel said coming back at you, it wasn't a minute. I heard ch.
Yep.
And then here they come. And the bigger one took the closer path, and when he hit my opening, I shot. And he went down the bench, fell over. And then he must have, after he fell over, he got like a second wind, stood up, jumped over the cliff, died, and then the other one must have got confused. The last buck ran right up at me and got like 10 yards away, and I turned him back.
Oh, I didn't realize he was that close to you.
He was a beauty too, right? He was nice and wide, 6 point.
Yeah, he was the 6, but he had 3 up, but no brow tines. He was just clean all the way down. So I tried to turn him back to Clayton because he was the last one with a gun, but he didn't go there eventually.
So we killed 3 out of 4 all shooter bucks in the same group, all with one shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Dallas couldn't believe
Dallas couldn't believe it. Dallas says there's no way.
Yeah.
They were trying to run the gauntlet.
Yep. We turned it right. It's officially Death Valley now, Dallas, so you know.
That's Death Valley.
I like that. Yeah, that's good. The ridge I was on this morning, I'm going to call the Eagle's Nest now because there's an Eagle's Nest down on the end of it.
Oh, yeah?
I like that too. We're going to start writing these down.
So we Greg, it's pretty incredible to come down here and on your first hunt. We've had several guys come down here on their first hunt and shoot bucks.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like you experienced a pretty incredible thing coming
Yeah.
down here on your first hunt and having.
Definitely.
I mean, we've never killed 3 bucks on one drive ever.
No.
And to kill 3 bucks of that caliber on the same drive is amazing. And to see you as a new guy get one, which is awesome. Jim, his first buck with us.
That's my second
and
year
then
only.
Jim Vogel to get, your 3rd buck down here, 4th buck, 3rd buck down here. It's incredible. 5th buck.
Wow.
4 out of 5 years I've shot him. 4 out of the last 5 years I've shot a buck. It's pretty incredible. It's lucky too. Like a lot of it's luck. A lot of it's just being in the right place at the right time.
There's a lot of randomness to it.
It's so random. But you only get.
You got to be good enough to put yourself in the right spot. Aside from where Dallas tells you got to have
like,
a good vantage point.
In my situation, if I saw those deer, if I did not bounce to the other side of that ridge,
Correct.
I never would have had a shot. I never would have seen a buck. I never would have had a shot opportunity. It never would have happened. But still, on top of that, it's like there's just so much luck involved. But you only get so many opportunities. It's like it's just like home. But we're doing it. You take a whole deer season. How many shooting opportunities you have at a shooter buck? Like here, it's 3 days, and you have no idea when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, what it's going to look like. You have no idea.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think overall, this was probably one of our most successful trips down here. Largest group consistently that we had. We had 17 guys every day, 17 shooters every day.
Yeah.
And we were in deer on every drive.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, we're always on deer every time. It's just a matter of finding the bucks. But I mean, I think it's 5 years in a row now where we've been very successful.
Yeah.
Don't just look at total numbers, but just look at the bucks that we're getting.
The quality of them. Yeah.
I mean, even the toughest year that we had was when Jim killed the first morning, and then we didn't get anything else until last afternoon. But that was Trigger's 12-pointer.
like that was
So
actually
Vogel, you killed in Vogel Valley. That was your first deer in second deer in Vogel Valley.
At the same
and
tree,
then we
right?
didn't kill anything until the last drive when Trigger shot the 12.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which made up for
yeah,
all of the
everybody
rest of
forgot
it.
about everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hats off to you. I know you put a ton of time and effort into this. Like, this went off outstanding. Dude, to shoot several bucks. I think all 4 of those bucks are over 110 inches. All of them. Well over, I think.
Official New York.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a measuring.
If we knew a
gang
good
going
scorer.
Yeah, if we knew a scorer, we'd get him scored.
We'd get him scored.
To go back to what we were just talking about, though, I said earlier that this was hands down my best hunt of my lifetime. I've had a lot of great hunts. I killed a lot of good deer, but this was collectively the best hunt I've ever had. I killed a hammer deer, but with other guys to kill hammer deer with some of the best hunters that I know. Hands down the best hunt, and that's all because Dallas puts this together. So, Dallas, you're the man.
Thanks, Jim.
Cheers. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
Hey, I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. So,
We've got this group of people we've put together is just pretty. It's incredible because it's from all to add you never know. Greg's here. Greg's only here because your other buddy bailed. Right. It gets wild, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're pretty well traveled as a hunter. Obviously, you know what the hell you're doing in the woods. It's just wild to see, and Kurt, for you to have Kurt and now his son Sam. Sam's what, 13?
Yeah,
we're gonna get Sam.
over.
Yeah, we're gonna get Sam and Kurt on because I want to hear that. But that's the first. I know, this is great, and Jim D, all these people that are part of this group now, everybody's got such a unique way of how they found themselves here, and we've got this group of 17, 18, Molly's hunting with Brian, so it's not counted as a hunter, but we've got 18, 20 people that, it's just a solid group, and you can count on each other to get it done. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then we get these deer down, and, so I cut up 3 deer this weekend, and we got to AJ's deer, and I'm like, all right, boys, we got an hour's worth of work to do.
He knew exactly how long it's going to take.
Because that was my 3rd deer, and I was like, it takes us about an hour to do it right, And that AJ's deer, that butchering process of AJ's deer went absolutely flawless.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
He died in the perfect spot.
Dude, you saw his rack.
Yeah,
we
great
just
buck.
So happy for AJ.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Great buck, and he hammered him. Just perfect shot on the first shot. He killed him right there.
He just double lunged him and he just ran downhill.
Yeah, well, it was quartered to him, so
Quartered away. He was going downhill.
No, it was quarter 2. It was quarter 2, and he shot him right behind the shoulder, and the bullet never came out, but it got lodged in his guts.
In the hide.
I never found the bullet when we were processing him, but there was no exit hole, and that deer. I mean, we would have eventually found blood following his track, but he racked another round and shot again and cut white hair.
How that deer didn't drop on that shot is amazing.
Yeah, at 40 yards.
He took it like a champ.
He took it like a man.
Sounded like it was a hell of a shot on the run anyways, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, the deer stopped for just a split second when he shot him. They both saw each other at the same time, and AJ.
Wow, so AJ.
He was on it.
Yeah, good.
He was ready.
Great.
Yep. So, yeah, it was awesome.
Because I was having a few laughs at his expense when he shot.
Yeah. 3 shots fast.
Yeah. That was the fastest shooting bolt action aside
from Trigger, right?
Yeah, that I've ever heard.
Yeah, Trigger's gifted.
You've never heard me rattle on
I guess not. Yeah, I guess not.
That guy got an automatic up there?
Yeah, that's when
Dallas just keeps the trigger held down and just keeps racking the...
The buck that I shot that Mike hit the leg on, that's why I came home and all the guys are like, "You sounded like you're shooting a semi-auto up there." I'm like, I could have done faster. I had to wait for him to clear trees.
Yeah, that's like Brian with a muzzleloader. He can shoot a muzzleloader it sounds like a semi-automatic. He can reload it, pack powder, reload, and be shooting again. It's amazing. So what do you think?
Very happy.
I mean, you and I have talked a lot about this over the last 6 months about preparing for this hunt, and it's kind of, it's always hard to believe that it's just over, but.
Yeah, it comes and goes fast.
Yeah.
I'd love to do more days sometime. I'd love to do more days, but I don't know if my body can handle it or not. But, man,
By day 3 though, I'm feeling strong. Like I'm ready to go. And I guess it's different because the last few years, like I'm just hiking, but
yeah, it's not my body. It's so much as it's the pure exhaustion catch up with you a little bit. Like tomorrow, by the time we get home on Sunday, I'll just crash. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because what people don't see, and like you're the schemer in the background that's putting all these drives together. So the last 2 nights, everybody else is like, oh, I'm spent. I'm going to bed. And Dallas is sitting out here looking at freaking maps, trying to figure out where everybody's going. Yeah. And it's not an easy task.
I spent the entire Bills game and the hour before that the other night doing maps. I mean, it was like 3 or 4 hours I spent on those maps. And I'm pretty sure at this point, if I look at one more topo map this week, I'm gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
I'm the map. I'm the map. I'm the map. If you want to kill some deer, you gotta go sit right here. I'm the map. If you want to whack and pack, you gotta go up here.
Oh, that's so accurate.
Bitch.
That was good. That's good stuff.
You had that queued up.
I did. I was hoping it was either one of those 2 buttons, and I picked the right one.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
That is good stuff.
I love it. I was trying to explain it to Kurt and Sam on the way here.
They don't get it.
Well, Sam being a kid, you think he'd at least know what
Dora the Explorer
was, but he's like, what? And I'm
she's
like, I know you probably don't watch it because they got 3 boys, so they probably never seen it, but
yeah, they watch man stuff.
I'm
like, well, yeah.
All right, settle down.
I was trying to explain it to him, so we'll have to play the song for him later.
Yeah.
So, but we should get those guys on. I'd love to hear from Sam.
Yeah, I want to hear the young guys first.
We'll get Sam and Kurt over here with you on the mic because I'd like to have you too because you and Kurt go way back, and this is our first time adding Kurt to this group. So I had seen, now that I see him, I'd seen pictures of him with you when you guys did your Western hunts, but I never knew who he was.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, my buddy Kurt's coming. I'm like, I have no idea who Kurt is.
Yeah.
But like, just great to have him. He's been awesome. And he knows his way around the mountain.
Right.
He knows how to quarter stuff. Like he showed up at your deer yesterday.
He helped me pack me and you pack my deer out.
Yeah, he showed right up and he's like, "Oh, can I saw those legs off for you?"
He was jacked. Yeah. I was like, hey, "Do whatever you want to do."
Yeah, Kurt's over there.
Yeah, he was fired up.
Yeah, he was freaking right in it. It's great.
Let's get him over here. I'm gonna.
Well, before Greg gets off,
okay.
anything you got, Greg? Closing here.
I just appreciate you guys letting me come. It was an awesome time.
It was great having you. Great meeting you. So I mean, we'll see you next year, buddy.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Yeah, you're on the list. You've earned your place.
My mountain patch.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I told you guys, I will forever hold on to my buck tag until this hunt, unless I see an absolute giant archery season. I'm not going to give up archery hunting because that's my passion, but you're making me a more patient hunter because I want to save my tag to come down.
Yeah.
But I'm coming down here either way. I'd just be nicer to have a tag.
Yeah.
So. All right,
Jim. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim.
Can we get? Oh, well, we gotta get Sam. Where'd Kurt go?
You're on deck, Sam.
Sam's up. Where's your dad? Where's your dad? Hey, Kurt. You're up, Kurt. You need a moment? Grab I'll have Dallas come sit down over here. You're good. Throw that one on. You're good.
Just talk like we're.
Yeah, just talk. Yeah, we're just talking. Like we're gaming. Oh, Dallas was thirsty. That's where you had to go. If there's a place you gotta go, there's a beer you gotta crack. He's the map. He's tired because he's been working. He doesn't really remember. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So we just added two new people to the headsets. We got Sam and Kurt. Father Sam, son Kurt. No, other way around.
Switch it. Yep, you got it.
Son Sam, father Kurt. So what do you think, guys?
Awesome 3 days. Blessed to be here. Happy
Pretty
that
cool.
we got the invite.
Yeah, we couldn't be happier it's pretty cool to have a father and a son in camp. Kurt, my first time meeting you, our first time having you in here, but we've never had a youngster with us before.
It's an honor.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't even really comprehend it because you're 13, Sam?
Yeah.
So what do you think of all this? This has got to be quite the experience for you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't really. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so right off the bat, have you guys ever hunted down? Have you ever hunted down here?
Yeah, 2006, I believe. I came
with these guys?
Yep,
okay,
yep.
so
it's been a while.
Okay, wow. So 06.
Yeah,
so that puts things in. Was that one of the first years or?
No. Well, okay. So the first time that we returned here was 04, but then in 05, me and Dad went to Idaho. So then in 06, we came back to PA because we weren't doing both at that time. Kurt came with us in 06, and then in 07, Kurt came with me to Idaho.
Okay.
So we did back-to-back hunts.
Okay. And you and Kurt know each other from working in Rochester?
College,
yeah.
Okay, so you guys went to MCC together?
Yep.
Okay.
2000, we probably met in 99.
Then we found out that we played baseball against each other in high school. He went to Kendall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so where you live is where you grew up.
Yes,
so okay.
correct. Yep.
That's cool. So you guys played baseball against each other, met each other in college.
Yeah.
I remember that weird guy that they hit a home run. It's like, that guy named Dallas hit another home run. I'm like, who is that guy named Dallas?
Just like got this strength we don't even know. Just milking cows all the time.
I did. I was one strong young man.
Yeah.
No, actually, like we talk about like me and you never really talked about baseball. But
No.
You've had like a lot of your friends and even people you hunt.
Baseball
with,
is like everything. It's been everything to my life. Yeah.
So their baseball team, when Kurt was a senior, went to the state finals in Cooperstown.
No kidding.
And lost. Kendall was a superpower baseball team at that time. I mean,
yeah.
You guys
was that
were,
Class C?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Right? That seems about right.
Yeah.
But in 2 games against Kendall as a senior, I destroyed them. I did. But, I mean, we got slammed
I think
in
we
both
won,
games. But you guys won by a lot. But I mean,
up your stats.
I just literally crushed their pitching like no other. And I just like, I'm like, man, I wish the rest of we had a good hitting team. I mean, not knocking those guys. Like, we really could swing the bats. But, man, I just, for whatever reason, I hit a home run against them that was the longest. I mean, I hit a lot of long balls in my days, but the wind was blowing out like 60 miles an hour, and I hit one over the baseball field and halfway through the football field, and there was no fence, so I was in my home run trap before I hit second base.
Oh my God!
Like when I met Dallas, I remembered the name from the chants from the field. Like, Dallas. I'm like, that gotta be the guy.
Dallas.
He goes, yeah.
Did you play baseball?
First day of school, he's like, hey, I think I know you, and I'm like, really? Yeah. So
that's pretty cool.
So that was like best friends from there. So.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So that brings us to here. So when we, Dallas and I do a lot of work on this on this hunt in particular, but all of our hunting together. Dallas and I have really become pretty close throughout all this.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, my buddy Kurt's gonna come, and he's gonna bring his son Sam. And I didn't know if Sam was 20 or
right.
10 or I had no idea. Like I didn't even know you were gonna be hunting until we got here the first day, and it's like, oh, Sam's legal. Like, Sam's hunting.
Yep.
Like, this is great.
Everybody's legal here.
Yeah. Right. So what is PA? So PA is...
I believe it's 12.
Is it 12?
Yep.
It's 12 to be...
Alone.
Alone.
But you could be 8. I think it's
there is no age.
There's no age?
It's called mentored youth.
Okay.
So a mentored youth could be any age, any kid that...
You could bring your 1-year-old out here if you want to.
Sure.
As long as they're mentored.
And then you got to post a picture on Facebook of the buck that your 1-year-old shot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's a master of the trigger.
No, but he's already had experience hunting, and he's killed deer and stuff. So I mean, he was ready. He was obviously. You thought,
Yeah. So you were telling me last year you would have been 12 last fall, right?
Yeah.
And the youth hunt in New York was last fall, and you said that you shot a few deer last year.
Yep.
Yeah, I shot two button bucks last year and a 4-pointer.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've got some experience, and you come down here, and I wasn't aware that as a youth in PA you don't have to follow the antler restriction.
Yeah, we were kind of figuring that out on the way down, Dallas and I, but I'm pretty sure I read it prior, but I wanted to know exactly what he was able to do or not do. So it's anything 3 inches or longer.
That's cool.
Good to go.
Yeah. So I guess going right into to how the hunt went for you guys. I mean, how was it?
Way better than expected. I mean, to see the quality of the deer that we killed and the number of deer. I mean, for him to see how this all works and the coordination and the planning, I think that's huge.
Yeah, and I've never seen anybody pack out a deer. Like out of that was pretty cool.
Oh, you haven't?
That was your favorite part of the
That's
weekend.
why when all those shots were going off, we ran to the first guy that we could find that had a deer down because I wanted him to see.
Oh, so when you guys came over to Jim and I
we
yesterday.
were desperately looking for you guys before you had it all done. We're like, we're gonna find them and we're gonna throw
That's
some meat
great.
in our packs and pull that thing out of here, and we did.
Yeah.
So it was great.
I mean, I go back to when I first started hunting with these guys. I had never packed a deer. I'd never quartered a deer. I had no clue, and I can totally relate to that. It's like a really cool experience to like put that meat in a game bag
Walking
and carry it out.
meat on your back out of the woods is almost like a spiritual feeling to me.
It
I
is.
mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's very primitive, I think.
It is.
I just feel sweaty.
That's the feeling I have. Yeah,
I mean, there's something about it. I mean, I don't know.
it
Load
is,
on your
yeah.
back that you're going to feed your family with is awesome.
I woke up this morning and I feel sweaty.
That was going to be a serious moment,
Yeah.
but I cut in.
No, but that it is true. I mean, and when you're the one that shoots the buck, like I shot my buck, and Crispy and we're talking. It was just Crispy, AJ, and I, and we're processing my buck, and Crispy's like, Slick, he's like, I'll carry the horns. If you just want to, you can carry 2 bags of meat. And I'm like, no. I'm like, the horns are on my bag, sir. I don't care how much meat I'm carrying. I'll carry this whole damn deer, but I'm carrying the meat. There's no way around it. There's all the trips we've done, like you've done Western stuff. Like you go out and you do those trips, like putting that weight on your back and carrying that out. There's something about it that just triggers something inside of you. That's like,
for sure.
We're achieving something. Like this is like primitive. It's awesome. And to be able to do that with with a group like this, it's just the best. Like AJ shot that buck tonight and we had 5 of us there and it made such quick work of that deer. And it was like nothing to carry it out. It was about a little over a 2-mile walk out and it was like nothing. But it's just cool. Like you're just trekking with your buddies, talking,
Making
working
memories.
through the whole thing. Yeah. So did you guys have much for like deer encounters over the last 3 days?
I saw a buck the first morning and a bunch of tops that were cut. I just saw
I
a
didn't
glimpse
see
of
it.
deer
You
and then horn, and I got my scope on it, and I tried to set him up for where I thought it would come out, and I never saw it again. I think it kind of went back into a little bowl that was kind of really nasty that we couldn't really chase it or set anything up, I didn't think, with 3 guys that were over there.
Yeah.
Other than that, a couple came to us. We weren't confirmed sightings yesterday, but Sam had a doe encountered today, and I think there was a little buck that popped up in front of him that was a little bit out of sight, but Rob pushed up through, so it was enough. Believe me, we had a lot of action.
That's good.
Yeah.
What we were expecting.
That doe almost ran me over. I could have. It was like not even 5 yards in front of me.
That was today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had him by himself. I set him like he could see. He didn't like where we came down Vogler Hill, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was a little thick in there, but I thought the deer would come through there, and he wasn't quite comfortable with it. He's like, I don't know. So we walked down a little farther. I left him, and I came back up about 100 yards, and he could see the bottom. So when I came back down to pick him up, he's like, oh, I saw a doe. So it was kind of cool. He was on his own, too. I would have loved to hear a shot go off, but either way.
I could have whacked it. It was like
Literally,
Did
could have
you
whacked
ever
it.
refer to whacking things before?
Probably not before he met
I like it.
It's good stuff. Yeah.
He's going to go to school on Monday and tell everybody that he was whacking deer over the weekend. We were whacking, stacking, weed whacking.
You should see all the deer we whacked this weekend, man.
Yeah, no, we got a lot of pictures for the scrapbook, believe me.
It's great.
I sent them to my dad, my wife. They're pretty excited.
Yeah, I mean, as a father who's got kids that are not old enough to do this sort of stuff, it's exciting to see, like Sam, like kudos to you because this is not an easy hunt, and you're covering some territory and doing some stuff like you didn't. I mean, it was cold. Like us grown men are like, oh, my hands are cold. It's wet. Like you never complained. You were a tough little guy, man. Cheers to you. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I pretty much made him leave early tonight because his teeth were chattering. I'm like, Sam, do you want to go? He's like, no, I'm good. Like, we're going back. If I bring you back home with pneumonia, you're never gonna get. Your mom's never.
Yeah, like Brian says, like the kid, like
she'll forget about it.
Brian's like, my kids don't understand what cold is.
Yeah.
Brian's like, they'll just literally freeze to death before they say, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm cold.
Yeah.
But
too much excitement to be.
Yeah, it's awesome. And as a father, how was that? You know, to have your little guy with you.
It's a dream come true, really, because I grew up in an Adirondack deer hunting camp, and that's kind of no more. Or the generation has changed, so I can't really bring him there. So this is as good, or it's even better, quite frankly, because I think there's better hunters. I think there's better personalities. Everyone's gelling. There's no like oddballs. There's no outcasts. Everyone's on the same wavelength. So this is really a dream come true for me. So I'm very thankful for you guys.
Aside from the family aspect of your dad and your grandpa, this is definitely a better camp.
yeah, for sure. But it's the same vibe. It's just, Yeah.
But
it's
that's
what real hunting is, really. I mean,
that's what we figured. The evolution of the last like 5-6 years, but really comes down to the last few years where we really started drawing the maps. Like I was thinking about it tonight or this afternoon when we're walking out. We had that long walk out, and I'm thinking, like we used to, when we had like 6 or 8, 10 of us, like we didn't have maps. We weren't drawing maps of what we were going to do. It was like, you go here,
Well,
we're going to walk there. Like
we had the topo maps and
we
the
did.
GPSs and everything, but we were still pointing at the map with our fingers.
It was not designed, take pictures, know where you're going to be. Like that drive today, the morning drive, like there was a little confusion in the beginning getting everybody set up and where they needed to be, but like when we went, like that drive went flawless. Like everyone went exactly where they were supposed to go. 17 people covering how many acres? I mean, that was 800 acres. I don't know. Like we covered
that much.
7,000 acres. I don't know.
Really? Wow, that's a lot.
That had to have been hundreds of acres that we covered.
Yeah, probably.
From the start of that all the way down, up and over.
Yeah, plus 1 to 200 maybe, but
yeah.
You know what's interesting too is like
no, way more than 100. We're gonna measure that shit on Onyx to figure out what we covered.
Do it right now.
I gotta go pee.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I can't do that.
I was just gonna make a point though about acreage. Like when you measure an acre is a straight line on a 2-dimensional map, right? But when you actually take into account the terrain, how many times should you really multiply for the actual huntable acres there, as opposed to what an actual acre is classified as? The awkward silence as Billy walks away.
Yeah.
He's either peeing or getting his phone to look at Onyx.
He's going to the bathroom. His phone's right here. Yeah, Billy was actually one of the first ones that kind of started making this group bigger, because back in the we were starting to develop a really good system, but we could only get like 4 to 6 people to come every year.
Yeah, it was spotty.
Like
I think
when you were here, it was before we had a good system. But
it was like follow that ridge line down to the bottom. You'll hit a creek and come up to the side. And it was always like, I remember like the second night running out of the woods trying to beat daylight to get back to the road. Like it was like I got way too far down in.
Yeah.
And there was, it just wasn't as coordinated as it is here.
Right. Yeah, so we'd have a decent group, but we were starting to get, it's 2-3 years where I kept telling Dad and Brian, I'm like, we can do this better. I said, we need more people. I go, if we could get 10 people, I'm like, we could freaking nail this. And they're like, oh, it's too many people. We'll never be able to coordinate it. I'm like, we can do it.
Yeah,
I said,
but
we
it
need
takes a
more
leader.
guys.
It takes a guy sitting down and making the map and saying, we're going to do this. And everyone just follows your cue. I think that's pretty cool.
And that's when I had started doing that and started having success with it. And I'm like, we just need more guys. Well, anyways, when we got Billy, he was one of the first ones that jumped in. And I think Pete came around the same time. And then there started being more noise about it, and then everybody started jumping on board, and it escalated quickly.
But this is as close to a guided hunt as you will get. Like this almost feels like a guided hunt. Like we've got the maps, we've got a plan, we've got the trucks parked where they need to be. Everyone ends up where they need to be. It feels like a pack of 20 guys going into the woods, and it's just a guided hunt. It's really neat, really unique.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's cool to see the new people come in, and they end up in the right spots in the right place. Like we got new guys that are coming in and shooting big bucks. Like that's really cool.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing, because if you're an experienced mountain hunters, I mean, there's a lot of guys around here that are doing it solo and killing really nice bucks. but a lot of them are probably people that have lived here their whole life and they know how to do it, right? So if you had come from New York and down here, you wouldn't have a clue where to start.
No way.
You wouldn't even try it.
Different ball game.
Yeah. But you can come into this group and be like, any day could be my
Yep,
day.
you're in the right spot. You get people in the right spots, and you're following the map. You're seeing where other people are going. It's a very, very unique experience. And looking at the Garmin and seeing people move in and where everybody is, it's just incredible. And then when you hear those shots ring out,
oh man,
and just ripping through the valleys. It's just
that's the best one.
Oh
Rip
my
up
goodness!
Through the valleys and they echo. Did you guys hear any of that?
Well, what was AJ shooting today? Because that was a heck of an echo.
A 7mm.
08 or Magnum?
Magnum.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was some.
That was pretty cool. I thought it was like I didn't even know it was a gun. It sounded like thunder.
Yeah, right.
I'm happy for him because he's the. I don't know him very well, but he seems like the sweetest guy and perfect personality.
Busts his ass too. He always pushes deer like crazy, so that was nice to see him get one.
Yeah. Oh, that was definitely one of the top people on my list to want to score one.
I will say, after hiking that far, and then he goes, "Yeah, I don't know if I hit him. He was 40 yards away. I don't know." And I was like, "Oh no, oh no."
Oh, all right. So I like I said, I've told everybody this story already, but I had a little fun with it because he comes over the radio and he goes, "It was 40 yards. I don't think I could have missed him." And I go, "Yeah, you could." and then he told Clayton that the deer were coming towards him, and I'm like, "Oh boy, that's So yeah,
he did. I was impressed because he ripped off a few shots, and he was on the radio right away. Clayton, they're coming, they're coming. And then we hear Clayton 3 hours away. "Hey, can anybody hear me on this thing?"
I think it's broke. It's wet.
I was like, "Oh no."
So, but that goes to show you, like, the thing we say about AJ is, like, he didn't grow up shooting guns or hunting. So, like, for him to put a rifle on a bench on a rest and pull the trigger and hit a target, you're shooting a gun, right? But me and Kurt me and Brian always talk about this. Like, as soon as we could freaking hold a gun, I mean, we were just shooting everything, birds and woodchucks and everything, and we can rack a bolt in our sleep,
Finding a rest quick when you see an animal, like jumping to that sapling
knowing
and
how to
anchoring
pick
on
a
the side
spot
of it,
and get a rest and all that kind of stuff. That's natural. Like, you just do it so fast.
And AJ's come a long way because the first year I was here, a buck ran right out in front of him. He never even shouldered the gun, and he ripped off 2 shots and never even shouldered it.
The first shot didn't go off. And then he's like, he racks it down in, and he's like, "Yeah, just hip shot." And Billy's like, "Whoa, what? And he's like, "Hey, you never do that?"
He's like, "It was 10 yards away. What'd you want me to do?" You still got a shoulder.
I mean, those crosshairs work the same at 10 yards or 150. But that's how inexperienced he was.
Right.
And then to come down here.
Kill a monster.
That's why I didn't get your joke this morning when I came over the radio. Like, yeah, you could. I'm like, I didn't get it. I was like, what?
No, I'm very happy for him. Very much so.
Yeah, that was a hard fought. That was a hard fought hunt. That was good to hear. People ripping off shots and seeing a dead deer.
The thing I like about today, my favorite part of it was, like, we got out of the woods. We were all soaked. We were kind of miserable. We had 1 buck. No one even questioned whether we were going out for the afternoon hunt. It was just like, load him up, let's go. Those are the type of people that I want to be around. I want him to be around.
Yeah.
So that was, to me, that was the highlight of my day. We're just rolling into it.
Yeah, good.
So Sam, what was your favorite part of the weekend?
Probably seeing all the dead deer. It's pretty cool. It was in packing them out.
Perfect.
And the nice bucks. It's pretty cool.
Yep. That I was up on top today, and I knew AJ got that buck, and I'm like, man, I just came a long ways up, but I don't want to go a long ways down. I'm like, no, I can't miss this.
Yeah, and
can't
yesterday
miss this.
It was pretty fun too because we would, like, climb up that mountain and we just go along the top of it, and they were, like, right on the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's neat seeing the deer move around here too, because back home, we don't have the elevation change, and it's pretty solid habitat, and they move so different here than they do back home. And being able to see them run and hear, especially on the radio too, because you get that communication that buck coming up to you, trigger, buck coming back through, doubling back. That's really neat, having that communication, whether you see him or not. You're
sharing the hunt, whether you're a mile away or the guy right in front of the deer.
Right. And you're covering so much ground.
Yeah, you're right though. You're sharing it. You feel like you're a part of it.
Yeah, he's trying to pull the radio out of my hands half the times we were sitting together most of the time. And I have his own radio, but I didn't put it on him this weekend. But I think next year maybe we'll let him go with his own.
Yeah.
Well, as he gets some more experience, he can probably venture on his own a little bit.
Yeah, a little practice in the off season about how to use it and what not to do as far as what buttons not to push.
I just mean like hunting, I was pretty comfortable with the fact that you guys were together all weekend.
Yeah.
But at some point, if he's gonna keep doing this. But he'll get a little more comfortable on doing it by himself a little bit. Because of course you got another one coming up right behind him that's gonna wanna.
Yeah.
Don't tell your brother how much fun you need, right? Because he's gonna be.
He's a couple years behind, so we got.
Well, Nate's kind of like I don't know. He's like, I don't know if he'll want to come.
He's very interested in hunting.
Yeah.
I don't think it comes as natural to him as it does to Nate, but yeah, he'll be around at some point, at home or here, whatever.
Yeah.
But even just a little experience on the radio, like the first year that I came down, I had never used one before, and I got into a clear cut, and I was going around a fence. I got so turned around, and I'm like, I don't have a clue where I'm at. I'm looking at all these lines and these dots all over the place. But it takes getting turned around once and then finding your way out to really understand it. And, right when you think all hope is lost, you find the ridge that you're supposed to go up, and then you meet everybody, and you're like, oh, I get it. But it's a good experience, and it's good to be in the woods with following guys and following someone else to understand where we're going, and you can get turned around in the draws and in the woods and the hills.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a kid and me and Dad would go hunting, we'd go someplace and he'd give me some description of what I was supposed to do, and man, I'd be freaking turning in circles. I mean, I don't know how many times I just yelled, Dad! Seriously. I mean, I was like totally lost all the time. Dad! And he'd come back, what?
Well, we were up on that yesterday, and I had to go poop really bad. And because I had that orange juice for some reason makes me go poop. I don't know why, but I was like, Dad, it's coming out. And he's like, you go up here and you go around here. My backpack's right up there, and you'll see it. And I was like standing there. I was like 10 minutes. I was like, where is the backpack? And then I was like looking up, and I finally found it. It was not fun.
Meanwhile, he gets up and he's waving at me. I'm thinking, what's wrong? Pete shoots next to us. I'm like, get back down there. No, I don't care what it is.
Get your pants back up.
Turns out he had to go to the bathroom. But so we had a little.
It turns out Pete missed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he should have been ready, is my point.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I had an emergency this morning, too.
We all did a couple times.
I waited till I dropped everybody else off, and then, I got 200 yards past DJ, and I'm like, I can't go any farther. So what other fun stories do you have, Sam? Because that was a pretty good one. I hadn't heard that one yet.
Yeah, I don't. Well, Dad had to go poop.
All right.
Those boys.
You learn to bring toilet paper, keep it dry.
Well, we're on it was yesterday night, and then there's this, I don't know,
Don't get too detailed.
Right behind me, and then there's this, the guy in the truck is going along because he sees us in orange, and he's going real slow while he's pooping in it.
I was pretty well hidden. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
How about what'd you learn gear wise, or how were you geared up? Were you cold? Were you wet? Stayed pretty solid.
There's a lot of walking, so you gotta kind of dress light.
Yep.
It's not like at home where you dress heavy. Doesn't really matter because you're not walking a ton.
That was my first year. I learned that. Don't dress heavy.
Yeah.
My bibs.
Every new guy the first year is just heavy, overdressed and overweight
Yeah,
backpack. That's always the thing. Now Kurt's different because he's experienced at this kind of stuff. But
Well, even the first day with him, I wasn't sure, so I over-prepared him. But I think we were both a little bogged down with extra stuff. We had hot seats. I didn't know. I wanted him to be comfortable and didn't want to start out on a bad note.
Yeah, and that was the one thing I told you. I'm like, you're gonna sit and get cold, so just be prepared. I'm like, if you need to put 100 things in your backpack, just do it. Cause
Well, the first day we were like, the first day was like it was like tops of the trees and we had to climb over those, and it wasn't horrible with the full body suit I was wearing, but it was okay. Wasn't.
No, it's impressive to be not cold. You sat for a long time this morning on this morning's drive. You sat for a long time, wet, rainy, to be able to stick that out. It's awesome.
He was the first one. He was 100 yards in front of Kurt.
Wow.
Halfway through. He's just trucking.
Yeah. He got a little too sweaty, though. I think that affected the next
It
one.
was like I was wearing the same shirt for like 3 days, and it's like my I didn't even realize my socks were wet. They were like black with sweat when I took them off in here.
Dallas, what do you know about wet socks? Do you know anything about wet socks? Any insight you can share? Extra socks, extra boots, extra feet.
I have a bad supplier. They're wet when they come out of the package. I think
Doesn't get any better than this. Yeah. No, it was good weekend. I will say that.
Very good.
We gotta track down Slick. Where'd Slick go? Is he still?
Yeah, I think he's cooking.
All right, I'm gonna track down Slick.
Slick. Yeah, we're still talking. Well, I just got on.
Slick. Slick. What do you want to do with this? What do you want to do with this podcast?
We don't know how to end it.
How long have you been on?
Huh? What does it say on there? It's almost 2 hours.
Oh, that's not bad. You must have just started when we got here then.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I feel like this is a great. We pretty much wrapped up the whole hunt.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we might have some more entertainment later on. Maybe we'll get Trigger's perspective. I want to see if he maybe fired up about anything. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm sure his gears were grinding.
I'm sure he's got some stuff that's got him worked up. So, yeah. Cheers, Dallas.
Yeah.
Great hunt. Kurt and Sam, thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys.
Anytime.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So.
Thank you guys.
Till next year.
Alrighty.
Keep feeding them.